If you want to change your life, it starts with how you see yourself. Every day, the way you act, the choices you make, and the standards you set for yourself shape the person you become. This audiobook is about stepping into your full potential and acting like the best version of yourself every single day. It's about building confidence, creating habits that support your growth, and refusing to let doubt or fear control your actions. You'll learn how to take responsibility for your life, make bold decisions without waiting for anyone's approval, and stay consistent even when things feel difficult. You'll discover how to respect your time, push through discomfort, and develop skills that make confidence natural. This isn't about comparing yourself to anyone else. It's about setting high standards for yourself and committing fully to them. Every chapter gives practical advice you can start using today to improve your focus, discipline, and self-belief. By the end of this audiobook, you'll understand how small daily actions add up to massive results, how to honor your word to yourself, and how to lead your life from a place of strength and clarity. You'll be able to see challenges as opportunities, stay persistent when things get hard, and act every day with purpose and confidence. This is more than motivation. It's a complete guide to building a life where you act like the best and no one is better than you. Chapter 1: Act daily with confidence and expect respect. Confidence is not something granted by the world. It is not handed to you when people approve of you or when circumstances are easy. Confidence is a decision expressed through behavior. It is shown in how you stand, how you speak, how you choose, and how you act when no one is watching. Acting daily with confidence and expecting respect is not arrogance. It is self-alignment. It is living as someone who knows their value and refuses to betray it through hesitation, apology, or self-neglect. Many people wait for confidence before they act. They tell themselves they will speak up when they feel ready, take responsibility when they feel worthy, or step forward when fear disappears. That day rarely comes. Confidence is built the other way around. You act first, you move with intention, you take responsibility for how you show up. Then confidence follows as a natural result of repeated proof. Every day you act in a way that respects yourself, you send a message to your mind that you can be trusted. Over time, that message becomes belief. Expecting respect begins with how you treat yourself internally. If you speak to yourself with doubt, if you constantly question your decisions, if you abandon your own standards to avoid discomfort, you train others to do the same. Respect is not demanded loudly. It is demonstrated quietly. People sense how you see yourself. Your posture, your tone, your boundaries, and your consistency all communicate before words ever do. When you act as if you matter, your presence changes. Confidence is not loud behavior or aggressive speech. It is calm certainty. It is the ability to remain steady without needing to prove anything. A confident person does not rush to explain themselves. They do not chase validation. They do not shrink to keep others comfortable. They take up the space they earn through integrity and discipline. This kind of confidence is built through daily actions that align with your values. The first practice is to take your own commitments seriously. If you say you will wake up at a certain time, then do it. If you decide to work on a skill, then show up consistently. Every broken promise weakens your self-trust. Every kept promise strengthens it. Confidence grows when you know that your word has weight even when no one else is involved. Start small. Choose commitments you can keep and honor them fully. Over time, raise the standard. Another practice is to stop apologizing for your existence. Many people say sorry out of habit. They apologize for asking questions, for taking time, for needing clarity, for holding a different view. This behavior trains the mind to believe it is a burden. Replace unnecessary apologies with clarity and gratitude. Say thank you instead of sorry when appropriate. Speak directly without cushioning every sentence. This does not mean being rude. It means being honest and grounded. Your body also plays a role in confidence. The way you carry yourself influences how you feel and how others respond. Stand straight. Move with intention. Avoid nervous movements that signal uncertainty. Breathe deeply and slowly. These physical adjustments send signals to your nervous system that you are safe and capable. Over time, they become natural. Confidence is reinforced through physical discipline just as much as mental discipline. Expecting respect also means setting boundaries without guilt. When you allow others to waste your time, dismiss your effort, or cross your limits, you teach them how to treat you. Boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that protect your energy and focus. Saying no is an act of self-respect. You do not need to justify every boundary. State it calmly and move forward. Those who respect you will adjust. Those who do not reveal themselves. Daily confidence also comes from preparation. Showing up prepared reduces anxiety and increases authority. When you know you have done the work, you do not need to pretend. Preparation applies to conversations, tasks, and responsibilities. Read, practice, think ahead. When you arrive ready, your presence carries weight. People respond to competence because it is rare and reliable. Another key aspect is emotional control. Confidence weakens when emotions control behavior. Reacting impulsively, arguing to defend pride, or withdrawing under pressure all signal a lack of self-command. A Stoic approach teaches mastery over reaction. Pause before responding. Choose your actions deliberately. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every challenge requires force. Strength is shown in restraint. When others see that you cannot be easily shaken, respect follows naturally. Acting with confidence also requires clarity of values. If you do not know what you stand for, you will bend under pressure. Decide what matters to you. Decide what behavior you will accept and what you will not. This clarity simplifies decisions and reduces inner conflict. When actions align with values, confidence becomes stable because it is rooted in principle, not mood. Comparison is another enemy of confidence. Looking outward constantly weakens inner authority. There will always be someone faster, richer, louder, or more visible. Measuring yourself against others keeps you reactive and insecure. Confidence grows when you measure yourself against your own standards. Focus on progress, not position. Focus on effort, not outcome. Respect comes when people see consistency and self-direction. Your language shapes your confidence. Speak clearly. Avoid minimizing phrases. Do not downplay your efforts or abilities. State facts calmly. If you do not know something, admit it without shame. Confidence does not require knowing everything. It requires honesty and willingness to learn. People trust those who are clear about what they know and what they are working on. Another daily practice is to complete tasks fully. Half-finished work creates mental noise and self-doubt. Finishing what you start builds momentum and pride. It signals reliability to yourself and others. Choose fewer tasks and execute them well. Quality over quantity builds confidence because it demonstrates focus and care. Respect is also earned through consistency. Acting confident one day and withdrawn the next confuses people and weakens presence. Consistency builds predictability and trust. Show up with the same standards regardless of mood. This does not mean suppressing emotion. It means not letting emotion dictate behavior. Discipline creates stability. Stability creates respect. Self-respect also includes caring for your physical and mental health. Neglecting sleep, nutrition, or rest erodes confidence over time. Fatigue lowers patience and clarity. Take care of your body because it carries your mind. Simple habits like regular movement, balanced meals, and adequate rest support confidence more than motivational words ever could. Expecting respect also means choosing environments wisely. Surroundings influence behavior. If you stay in places where effort is mocked and discipline is rare, confidence is harder to maintain. Seek environments that value growth and responsibility. If that environment does not exist, create it through your actions. Be the standard even if others are not. Confidence grows when you accept responsibility for your life. Blame weakens agency. Complaints drain energy. Responsibility empowers. When you own outcomes, you gain control over improvement. This mindset shifts focus from external validation to internal progress. People respect those who take responsibility because it signals maturity and strength. There will be days when confidence feels low. This is normal. Acting with confidence does not require feeling confident. It requires choosing actions aligned with your standards despite emotion. On difficult days, simplify. Do the basics well. Keep promises. Maintain posture. Speak clearly. These small actions keep identity intact until emotion catches up. Another important aspect is patience. Confidence is not built in moments of praise. It is built in quiet repetition. Avoid seeking quick recognition. Trust the process of daily effort. Over time, results compound. When others notice your steady progress, respect grows naturally. Confidence rooted in patience is stable because it is not dependent on immediate feedback. Respecting yourself also means allowing yourself to grow without harsh judgment. Discipline does not require cruelty. Correct mistakes calmly. Learn and adjust. Confidence weakens when self-criticism becomes constant. Replace judgment with evaluation. Ask what can be improved and take action. This approach builds resilience and forward momentum. Your presence matters. When you enter a room, do so with awareness. Notice your surroundings. Make eye contact. Listen fully. Being present communicates confidence because it shows control of attention. Distracted behavior signals insecurity. Focus is a form of respect toward yourself and others. Acting daily with confidence also involves courage. Courage is acting despite fear. Fear is natural when growth is involved. Avoiding fear keeps confidence small. Facing fear expands capacity. Start with manageable challenges. Speak when it matters. Take initiative. Over time, courage becomes habit. Confidence follows courage, not comfort. Expecting respect does not mean everyone will agree with you. It means you do not abandon yourself to gain approval. Some people may resist your boundaries or confidence. That is a sign of misalignment, not failure. Stay grounded. Respect yourself even when others do not. Over time, those who value integrity will recognize it. Daily reflection supports confidence. At the end of each day, review your actions. Identify where you acted with integrity and where you hesitated. Learn without judgment. Set clear intentions for tomorrow. This practice keeps growth intentional and prevents drift. Confidence also involves accepting imperfection. Trying to appear flawless creates tension and fear. Allow yourself to be human while maintaining standards. Admit mistakes quickly. Correct course. This behavior earns respect because it shows honesty and accountability. When you act daily with confidence, your life begins to align. Decisions become clearer. Relationships improve. Opportunities increase. Not because you demand attention, but because you demonstrate reliability and self-command. People trust those who trust themselves. Confidence is quiet work done consistently. It is built through habits, not hype. Through discipline, not drama. Through self-respect, not ego. Acting daily with confidence is a choice renewed each morning. Expecting respect is a result of that choice sustained over time. As you move forward, commit to small acts of self-respect every day. Speak honestly. Keep promises. Prepare well. Set boundaries. Control reactions. Take responsibility. Care for your body. Reflect regularly. These actions may seem simple, but they are powerful. Over time, they shape identity. You do not need permission to respect yourself. You do not need approval to act with confidence. Your life is shaped by the standards you choose and the actions you repeat. Act daily with confidence. Expect respect because you earn it through how you live. When you become consistent with who you decide to be, the world adjusts accordingly. Chapter 2. Build unshakable self-belief through disciplined daily actions. Self-belief is not something you discover inside yourself one day when motivation is high. It is something you build brick by brick through disciplined action, even on days when you feel uncertain, tired, or uninspired. Real self-belief is earned, not imagined, and it grows when your actions repeatedly prove to your mind that you can be relied upon. Most people misunderstand self-belief. They think it comes from positive thinking, affirmations, or waiting until they feel confident enough to act. That approach keeps them stuck. The mind does not trust words alone. The mind trusts evidence. Every time you act with discipline, especially when it is uncomfortable, you give your mind proof. Over time, that proof becomes certainty. Certainty becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. Disciplined daily actions are small, simple, and often boring. They do not feel dramatic. They do not look impressive in the moment. Yet they are powerful because they are consistent. Waking up when you said you would, finishing a task without cutting corners, practicing a skill when no one is watching, choosing effort over ease. These actions may seem minor, but they shape how you see yourself. Each one sends a message that you are someone who follows through. Self-belief collapses when words and actions do not match. You can tell yourself you are capable all day long, but if you avoid hard tasks, delay responsibilities, or quit when things feel heavy, your mind notices the contradiction. Doubt grows not because you are weak, but because your behavior teaches doubt. Discipline corrects this. Discipline aligns behavior with intention. Start by simplifying your commitments. Do not overload your day with unrealistic goals. Choose a few actions that matter and complete them fully. The goal is not intensity, it is reliability. When your mind sees you showing up daily, it begins to relax, anxiety decreases, hesitation fades, confidence becomes quieter and steadier. One powerful discipline is doing important tasks early. When you complete something meaningful before distractions take over, you create momentum. That early win sets the tone for the day. It reminds you that progress is under your control. Over time, this habit builds trust in your ability to move forward regardless of mood. Another essential practice is finishing what you start. Incomplete tasks drain energy and weaken belief. They create mental clutter and self-doubt. Choose fewer tasks and bring them to completion. Completion strengthens identity. It reinforces the idea that you are capable of seeing things through. Discipline also means honoring structure. Set specific times for work, rest, and reflection. Structure reduces decision fatigue and creates rhythm. When life has rhythm, confidence grows because you know what comes next. Chaos breeds uncertainty. Order builds calm authority. Physical discipline plays a role as well. Regular movement, proper rest, and mindful eating influence mental strength. A neglected body weakens focus and resolve. Caring for your physical state is not vanity, it is responsibility. When your body is steady, your mind follows. Self-belief deepens when you stop negotiating with weakness. There will always be excuses available. Fatigue, fear, doubt, and distraction will always exist. Discipline means acting anyway. Not recklessly, but deliberately. You do not need to eliminate resistance. You only need to move through it. Daily repetition is where transformation happens. Repetition removes drama from effort. It turns growth into habit. When discipline becomes routine, self-belief no longer depends on emotional highs. It becomes stable. You trust yourself because you have evidence collected over time. Another key aspect is tracking progress honestly, not to criticize, but to observe. When you see your consistency on paper or in reflection, belief strengthens. You realize that growth is happening even when it feels slow. This awareness prevents discouragement and reinforces commitment. Self-belief also requires patience. You may not see immediate results. Discipline tests patience because it demands effort before reward. Accept this delay. Learn to value the act itself. The reward is not just the outcome. It is the person you are becoming through consistent effort. Avoid comparing your discipline to others. Discipline is personal. Your starting point is unique. Focus on your actions today compared to yesterday. Measure progress internally. External comparison weakens belief because it shifts focus away from self-control. When you fail to follow through, respond with clarity, not harshness. Discipline is strengthened through correction, not punishment. Acknowledge the miss. Adjust the plan. Continue forward. Self-belief grows when you recover quickly instead of dwelling on mistakes. Another daily action that builds belief is intentional learning. Reading, listening, and practicing skills expand competence. Competence fuels confidence because it increases your ability to handle challenges. Learn consistently. Apply immediately. Application turns knowledge into trust. Silence also plays a role. Reduce unnecessary noise. Limit distractions that pull attention away from priorities. Focused attention builds mastery. Mastery strengthens belief. You begin to trust your ability to concentrate and produce meaningful work. Self-belief becomes unshakable when you detach it from outcomes. Success and failure will come and go. Discipline remains. When belief is rooted in effort rather than results, setbacks lose their power. You know that regardless of outcome, you can act with integrity and persistence. Another practice is setting non-negotiable standards. Decide which actions are mandatory regardless of mood. These standards simplify life. They remove inner debate. When action becomes automatic, belief strengthens because consistency is no longer questioned. You also build belief by choosing discomfort intentionally. Growth lives outside comfort. Avoiding discomfort teaches fear. Facing it teaches capability. Start small, increase gradually. Each challenge completed expands your sense of what you can handle. Daily discipline also includes rest. Rest is not avoidance, it is recovery. Sustainable discipline respects limits. Overworking leads to burnout, which damages belief. Balance effort with restoration. This balance supports long-term strength. Self-belief grows when you keep your life honest. Avoid exaggeration. Avoid pretending. Be truthful about where you are and what you are working on. Honesty creates solid ground. From that ground, discipline can grow without friction. Another important element is environment. Shape your surroundings to support discipline. Remove temptations. Prepare tools in advance. A supportive environment reduces resistance. Reduced resistance increases consistency. Consistency builds belief. As days turn into weeks, something subtle shifts. You stop questioning whether you can handle responsibility. You stop doubting your ability to improve. You begin to trust your capacity to adapt. This is unshakable self-belief. It does not shout, it stands firm. You will notice that challenges no longer feel personal. Obstacles become problems to solve rather than threats to identity. This emotional stability is a sign that belief is rooted deeply. It was built through action, not hope. Self-belief is not about feeling superior. It is about being grounded. It is knowing that you can rely on yourself to show up, adjust, and persist. That knowledge is freeing. It reduces fear of judgment because approval is no longer the source of confidence. Every disciplined action today shapes tomorrow's mindset. Even when progress feels invisible, trust the process. The mind remembers effort. It remembers resilience. It remembers follow-through. Commit to disciplined daily actions without seeking applause. Build quietly. Let your behavior do the convincing. Over time, self-belief becomes a natural state rather than a forced thought. When belief is built this way, it does not collapse under pressure. You do not need perfect conditions. You need consistent action. Start where you are. Act with intention. Repeat daily. Your self-belief will grow not because you wish it to, but because you earned it through discipline. Chapter 3: Decide standards for your life and protect them. The moment you decide what you will tolerate and what you will no longer accept, your life begins to change in a serious and permanent way. Standards are the invisible rules that govern your behavior when no one is forcing you to choose better. They define how you act when it would be easier to lower the bar. Without standards, life becomes reactive and scattered. With standards, life becomes deliberate and strong. Many people drift because they never clearly decide how they expect themselves to live. They react to moods, pressure, and convenience. One day they care deeply, the next day they compromise. This inconsistency slowly erodes self-respect. When you do not set standards, circumstances set them for you. Other people's expectations fill the gap. Comfort replaces growth. Over time, frustration builds because your life does not reflect your potential. Deciding standards is an internal decision before it is an external action. It begins with asking honest questions about what kind of person you are choosing to be. How do you handle responsibility? How do you treat your time? How do you respond to difficulty? How much effort do you give when results are not guaranteed? These answers define your standards, whether you are aware of them or not. Making them conscious gives you control. A standard is not a goal. A goal is something you work toward. A standard is how you live daily regardless of outcome. A goal might change. A standard stays consistent. When you decide that you will always act with effort, honesty, and discipline, you remove many internal debates. Action becomes simpler. Life becomes clearer. The first step is to raise standards privately before expecting anything publicly. Do not announce them. Do not seek approval. Quiet decisions carry more power because they are rooted in integrity rather than attention. Decide how you will show up even when no one notices. Decide what behavior you will no longer excuse in yourself. This internal shift is where strength begins. Protecting standards requires awareness. Life will constantly offer reasons to lower them. Fatigue will whisper that skipping effort is harmless. Pressure will suggest that compromise is necessary. Comparison will tempt you to settle because others are doing less. These moments are tests. Each test asks whether your standards are real or conditional. One of the most important standards to decide is how you treat your time. Time understanding shapes life direction. When you treat time casually, days blur together. When you treat time as valuable, actions become intentional. Decide that your time deserves purpose. Protect it from distractions that add no value. This decision alone elevates self-respect. Another standard involves effort. Decide that you will give full effort to whatever you commit to. Half effort creates inner conflict because you know you are holding back. Full effort brings peace even when outcomes fall short. You can accept failure when you know you acted fully. This standard builds inner calm and confidence. Standards also apply to how you speak to yourself. Internal dialogue influences behavior more than external feedback. Decide that you will not insult yourself for mistakes. Replace harsh judgment with correction. This does not lower standards. It strengthens them by encouraging improvement instead of avoidance. Self-respect grows when discipline and compassion coexist. Protecting standards means learning to say no without guilt. Every yes has a cost. When you say yes to something that violates your values or drains your energy, you are saying no to your own priorities. Saying no is not rejection of others. It is protection of direction. Over time, people adjust to the version of you that respects boundaries. Another important standard is honesty. Decide that you will not lie to yourself to stay comfortable. Comfort built on denial leads to stagnation. Honest self-assessment may be uncomfortable, but it creates momentum. When you face reality clearly, improvement becomes possible. Honesty is a form of courage. Standards also guide how you respond to challenges. Decide that difficulty will not dictate your behavior. Decide that you will remain composed under pressure. Emotional discipline is a standard that separates leaders from followers. You cannot control events, but you can control responses. That control builds respect internally and externally. Protecting standards often requires distance from environments that encourage compromise. Some places normalize laziness, excuse irresponsibility, or reward shortcuts. Staying in these environments makes protection harder. This does not require confrontation, it requires choice. Choose spaces that support your values. When that is not possible, become internally anchored. Consistency is the proof of standards. Acting well once does not define you. Repeating behavior does. Standards are revealed through patterns. If you act with discipline only when motivated, your standard is motivation. If you act with discipline regardless of mood, your standard is commitment. Choose which pattern you want to reinforce. Another area where standards matter is learning. Decide that you will always seek growth. Stagnation dulls the mind and weakens confidence. Learning keeps you adaptable. It keeps ego in check. It expands options. A growth standard ensures you do not become rigid or complacent. Standards must also include rest and recovery. Pushing endlessly without renewal leads to burnout. Decide that caring for your energy is part of discipline, not avoidance. Rest taken intentionally supports long-term performance. This balance prevents extremes and sustains progress. Protecting standards will sometimes create discomfort in relationships. Some people may resist your change. They may test boundaries or mock discipline. This reaction reveals alignment. Stay calm. Stay consistent. You do not need to explain repeatedly. Let behavior speak. Over time, respect replaces resistance. Standards simplify decision-making. When faced with a choice, you do not need to debate endlessly. Ask whether the choice aligns with your standards. If it does, proceed. If it does not, decline. This clarity reduces stress and builds confidence because decisions are anchored in principle. It is important to review standards periodically. Growth changes capacity. What once felt challenging may become normal. Raise standards gradually. Avoid sudden extremes. Sustainable improvement respects process. Each adjustment should stretch you without breaking stability. Standards also apply to how you handle mistakes. Decide that mistakes will be met with learning, not avoidance. Avoiding mistakes through inaction is a low standard disguised as caution. Taking responsibility and adjusting is a high standard. Choose growth over image. Protecting standards requires patience. Results may not appear immediately. Discipline may go unnoticed. Others may seem to advance faster through shortcuts. Stay steady. Shortcuts often lead to instability. Standards build foundations. Foundations last. As standards solidify, something changes internally. You stop negotiating with yourself constantly. You trust your decisions more. You feel grounded even when outcomes are uncertain. This internal stability is powerful. It reduces anxiety because you know how you will act regardless of circumstance. Life begins to reflect your standards. Opportunities align with behavior. Relationships adjust to boundaries. Self-respect increases because actions match values. This alignment creates quiet confidence. Not confidence based on praise, but confidence rooted in integrity. Deciding standards is one of the most important acts of self-leadership. It defines who you are becoming. Protecting them is an act of courage repeated daily. There will be days when it feels easier to compromise. Remember that every compromise teaches your mind what to expect from you. Choose standards that challenge you to grow. Protect them with calm discipline. Live them quietly and consistently. Over time, they will shape your identity, your direction, and your peace. When your standards are clear and protected, your life moves with purpose rather than pressure. Chapter 4a. Train your mind to reject comparison completely. The fastest way to weaken your mind and lose control of your direction is to measure your life against someone else's life. Comparison feels natural, but it is destructive because it pulls your attention away from what you can control and locks it onto outcomes you do not understand. Training your mind to reject comparison completely is not denial of reality, it is discipline of focus, and focus is where power lives. Comparison begins quietly. It starts when you notice where others are, what they have, how fast they move, or how they are seen. At first it feels harmless, even motivating. Over time it becomes a habit. That habit slowly distorts judgment. You begin to rush decisions, doubt progress, or abandon good paths because someone else appears ahead. The problem is not that others exist. The problem is allowing their path to define your value. Every person is operating with a different background, timing, opportunity, struggle, and responsibility. You never see the full picture. You only see fragments. Comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's visible results creates false conclusions. Those conclusions weaken patience and fuel frustration. A disciplined mind refuses to play this game. Rejecting comparison does not happen by pretending others do not exist. It happens by deliberately redirecting attention back to your own effort and responsibility. You train your mind by repeatedly asking one simple question in moments of comparison. What is required of me right now? This question brings you back to action. Action dissolves comparison because it demands presence. Comparison thrives in idle time. When the mind is unoccupied, it wanders toward judgment. Filling your day with meaningful work reduces mental noise. Focused effort leaves little space for envy or self-doubt. This is not avoidance. It is alignment. A busy mind focused on progress has no need to compare. Another reason comparison is harmful is because it shifts success into something external. You begin to feel successful only when you are ahead of others. This creates instability because there will always be someone ahead. When success is defined internally by effort and growth, it becomes stable. You no longer need to outrun anyone. You only need to move forward. Training the mind requires repetition. The first step is awareness. Notice when comparison appears. It may show up as discouragement, impatience, or sudden dissatisfaction. Do not judge the thought. Simply recognize it. Recognition creates space. In that space you choose response instead of reaction. The next step is reframing. When you notice comparison, replace it with evaluation. Ask whether you are improving based on your own standards. Evaluation is constructive. Comparison is distracting. Evaluation focuses on behavior. Comparison focuses on position. Behavior is within control. Position often is not. Another powerful practice is limiting unnecessary exposure. Constant consumption of curated images and achievements feeds comparison. Reduce time spent observing others without context. Choose content that teaches rather than showcases. Choose information that helps you act better rather than feel worse. This is not isolation, it is selectivity. Comparison also distorts timelines. You begin to believe progress should be faster. This impatience leads to shortcuts or quitting. Discipline teaches patience. Real progress is gradual. Training your mind means accepting that meaningful results take time. Rushing rarely produces stability. Your mind must also be trained to respect your current stage. Every stage has value. Early stages build foundation. Middle stages build resilience. Later stages refine skill. Skipping stages weaken structure. Respecting your stage builds confidence because you stop fighting where you are. Comparison weakens gratitude. When you focus on what others have, you overlook what you are building. Gratitude does not mean settling. It means recognizing progress. A grateful mind is grounded. A grounded mind is disciplined. Discipline allows growth without desperation. Another way to reject comparison is to define success clearly. Vague definitions invite external influence. Decide what progress looks like for you this month. Decide what effort means today. Clear definitions protect focus. When success is defined, you are less vulnerable to distraction. Training the mind also involves accepting that envy is information, not instruction. If you feel envy, it reveals desire. Use that information wisely. Ask what skill or habit is missing. Then work on it. Do not turn envy into self-attack. Turn it into direction. Comparison also affects relationships. It creates unnecessary competition. You may begin to see others as threats rather than examples. This mindset isolates. A disciplined mind can learn from others without feeling diminished. Learning does not require comparison. It requires humility and focus. Another practice is celebrating others without measuring yourself against them. This builds emotional strength. It reminds you that success is not scarce. When you can acknowledge others calmly, your own confidence grows. This emotional maturity supports long-term resilience. Your environment also influences comparison. Conversations that revolve around status, appearance, or competition reinforce it. Choose discussions centered on ideas, effort, and growth. Language shapes thought. Thought shapes behavior. Comparison weakens decision-making. You may change direction not because your path is wrong, but because someone else is moving faster elsewhere. This leads to inconsistency. Consistency builds mastery. Mastery builds confidence. Rejecting comparison protects consistency. Training the mind also means accepting individuality. You have strengths others do not. You also have weaknesses. Both are normal. Trying to replicate someone else's strengths while ignoring your own limits progress. Focus on developing what is naturally yours. Growth accelerates when effort aligns with aptitude. Comparison fuels fear of missing out. This fear leads to scattered attention. A disciplined mind chooses depth over breadth. Doing fewer things well beats doing many things poorly. Focus deepens skill. Skill builds self-trust. Another important aspect is solitude. Time alone reduces external influence. Reflection strengthens inner authority. Regular solitude allows you to hear your own direction without noise. This practice recalibrates focus. Comparison often disguises itself as motivation. Be honest. If comparison leaves you anxious or rushed, it is not helping. True motivation energizes without draining. Choose sources of motivation that encourage effort, not rivalry. Training your mind also requires reminding yourself that visibility is not value. Many things that matter are unseen. Quiet discipline, consistent effort, and internal growth rarely attract attention immediately, yet they produce lasting results. Value depth over display. When setbacks happen, comparison becomes more tempting. You may look at others and assume they are unaffected. This assumption is false. Everyone faces resistance. Some hide it better. Stay focused on recovery and learning. Resilience grows when attention stays internal. Another practice is daily reflection focused on effort. At the end of the day, ask whether you acted according to your standards. This reinforces self-evaluation. Over time, your mind learns to seek internal feedback rather than external ranking. Rejecting comparison also improves peace. You stop chasing imaginary deadlines. You stop resenting others for moving differently. Peace does not slow growth. It sustains it. A calm mind works better than a frantic one. You will not eliminate comparison thoughts completely. The goal is not elimination. The goal is mastery. Thoughts may arise. You decide whether they stay. Discipline is choosing focus repeatedly. As this habit strengthens, something changes. You feel less pressure to prove yourself. You work steadily. You learn patiently. You adjust intelligently. Confidence becomes stable because it is no longer tied to others. Life feels clearer when comparison fades. Decisions feel simpler. Progress feels personal. You become responsible for your own path. This responsibility is freeing. It returns control to where it belongs. Train your mind daily to return attention to effort. Reject comparison not through resistance but through redirection. Build the habit patiently. Over time your focus sharpens, your confidence stabilizes, and your progress accelerates quietly. When you stop measuring your life against others, you finally gain the space to build it properly. Chapter 5a. Show up prepared and deliver your best work. Preparation is the quiet force that separates people who hope from people who perform, and every time you show up ready, you send a clear signal to yourself and the world that you take your life seriously. Showing up prepared and delivering your best work is not about perfection or applause. It is about respect for the task, respect for your ability, and respect for the time you have been given. Most failure does not come from lack of talent. It comes from showing up half-ready and expecting full results. People underestimate how much confidence, clarity, and calm come from preparation. When you prepare properly, you remove uncertainty, you reduce hesitation, you walk into situations grounded rather than reactive. Preparation gives you control before pressure arrives. Preparation begins long before the moment of performance. It starts with intention. You decide in advance that when something matters, you will not rely on luck or last-minute effort. You plan, you think ahead, you ask what is required, and you meet that requirement early. This decision alone changes how you experience responsibility. Showing up prepared means respecting details. Small things matter. Knowing your material, organizing your tools, understanding expectations, anticipating challenges. These actions may seem ordinary, but they create a strong foundation. When details are handled, the mind is free to focus on execution. Delivering your best work is not about doing more than others. It is about doing what you do with care. Care is visible. People sense when effort is real. Best work is honest work. It reflects focus, discipline, and commitment. Even when results are imperfect, best work carries integrity. One reason people avoid preparation is discomfort. Preparation forces you to face gaps in skill or knowledge. Avoiding preparation avoids this discomfort temporarily, but it increases stress later. Facing gaps early allows growth. Growth reduces fear. Over time, preparation becomes empowering rather than intimidating. Preparation also builds trust. When you consistently show up ready, people begin to rely on you. Reliability creates opportunity. Opportunity expands responsibility. Responsibility accelerates growth. This cycle begins with simple preparation. Another benefit of preparation is reduced anxiety. Anxiety often comes from uncertainty. When you know you have done the work, your nervous system settles. You breathe easier. You speak more clearly. You make better decisions. Calm performance is not accidental. It is built. Delivering your best work requires focus. Focus is trained by eliminating distractions. Multitasking weakens quality. Choose to work deeply on fewer things. Deep work produces stronger results and builds skill faster. When focus becomes habit, quality follows naturally. Preparation also involves practice. Practice is rehearsal without pressure. It allows mistakes in private so execution improves in public. Skipping practice is gambling. Practicing consistently is investing. The return is confidence built on competence. Another aspect is respecting deadlines. Meeting deadlines shows discipline. It shows that you value commitments. Late work communicates disorganization or indifference. On-time work communicates control. Early work communicates leadership. Choose which message you want to send. Delivering your best work also means knowing when to stop refining. Perfectionism can become avoidance. Best work is not endless work. It is work that meets high standards and is delivered with confidence. Learn to recognize completion. Release when effort is sufficient. Preparation includes mental readiness. Enter tasks with a clear mind. Avoid carrying emotional residue from unrelated events. Take a moment to reset. A focused mind improves execution. Mental clutter reduces performance. Another important element is learning from previous work. Review what went well and what did not. Use this information to adjust preparation next time. Improvement is built through feedback loops. Ignoring feedback wastes experience. Showing up prepared also requires honesty about limitations. If you lack skill, prepare by learning. If you lack experience, prepare by studying. Pretending wastes energy. Preparation closes gaps quietly. Delivering your best work builds self-respect. Each time you give full effort, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of responsibility. This belief strengthens identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. Preparation also improves communication. When you are prepared, you explain ideas clearly. You answer questions calmly. You listen better because you are not distracted by insecurity. Communication becomes effective when preparation supports it. Another overlooked aspect is physical readiness. Adequate rest, nutrition, and movement influence performance. Fatigue dulls focus. Caring for your body is part of preparation. Neglecting it reduces capacity. Preparation creates margin. When unexpected issues arise, you can adapt because basics are covered. Without preparation, small problems become crises. With preparation, they become adjustments. Delivering your best work also means accepting responsibility for results. Avoid excuses. Own outcomes. Ownership builds credibility. Credibility attracts trust. Trust expands influence. Preparation is also an act of humility. It acknowledges that success requires effort. It resists entitlement. It chooses discipline over assumption. This mindset keeps growth active. Showing up prepared consistently builds reputation. Reputation is not built through words. It is built through repeated behavior. A strong reputation opens doors without asking. Delivering your best work does not require recognition. Do it because it aligns with who you are becoming. External praise may or may not come. Internal satisfaction always comes from integrity. Preparation also strengthens resilience. When challenges arise, you do not collapse because you have trained. Training creates confidence under pressure. Confidence under pressure is rare and valuable. Another important practice is preparing even when stakes seem low. Small moments train habits. Treat small tasks with care. How you do small things shapes how you do big things. Preparation also teaches patience. You delay immediate comfort for long-term quality. This patience compounds. Over time, it separates you from those who rush. Delivering your best work builds momentum. One strong performance leads to another. Momentum fuels motivation. Motivation supports discipline. Discipline sustains preparation. Preparation reduces regret. You may fail despite effort, but you will not regret not trying. Regret comes from knowing you could have prepared more. Avoid that weight. Another benefit is self-clarity. Preparation forces you to think. Thinking clarifies direction. Clarity improves decision-making. Decision-making improves outcomes. As preparation becomes habit, something changes. You begin to trust yourself in challenging situations. You stop fearing responsibility. You welcome opportunity because you are ready. Delivering your best work also improves relationships. People appreciate those who contribute fully. Respect grows naturally when effort is consistent. Preparation does not guarantee success. Nothing does. But lack of preparation almost guarantees struggle. Choose the path that builds strength regardless of outcome. Commit to preparation daily. Not dramatically, quietly, consistently. Let your actions speak. Let your work reflect care. Show up ready even when no one is watching. Deliver your best work even when recognition is uncertain. These choices shape character. Character shapes destiny. When preparation becomes part of who you are, effort feels natural and excellence becomes expected. That is how ordinary days produce extraordinary progress. Chapter 6: Create routines that prove your worth to yourself. Your worth is not proven in dramatic moments or rare victories. It is proven quietly in the routines you follow when no one is praising you and no one is watching. The way you live your ordinary days teaches your mind what you deserve, what you can handle, and what kind of person you truly are. Creating routines that prove your worth to yourself is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect because it replaces empty hope with visible evidence. Many people search for confidence in external approval, but the mind does not trust applause for long. Praise fades quickly. What lasts is the memory of your own consistency. Routines create that consistency. They turn intention into structure. Structure removes chaos. Chaos weakens belief. When your days have order, your mind feels safe. When your mind feels safe, it performs better. A routine is not a rigid prison, it is a support system. It removes the need to negotiate with yourself constantly. Decision fatigue drains energy. Routines conserve it. When you know what you do each morning, how you work, and how you recover, your attention is freed for meaningful effort rather than constant choice. Creating routines begins with honesty. You must look at your current habits without defense. How you wake up, how you use time, how you respond to stress. These patterns already exist. The question is whether they serve you or slowly erode your self-respect. Awareness is the starting point of change. The most effective routines are simple. They do not rely on motivation. They rely on clarity. Choose actions that matter and repeat them daily. A short walk, focused work time, skill practice, reflection. These actions compound over time. Complexity often leads to abandonment. Simplicity leads to consistency. Routines prove worth because they show commitment. Each time you follow your routine, you send a message to yourself that you matter enough to be cared for. Skipping routines without reason sends the opposite message. Over time, these messages accumulate. The mind listens closely to behavior. One powerful routine is starting the day with intention. How you begin influences how you continue. A calm start reduces reactivity. A rushed start spreads tension. Choose a beginning that aligns with discipline. It does not need to be long. It needs to be deliberate. Another important routine involves focused effort. Set aside time daily for work that moves you forward. Protect this time. Treat it as non-negotiable. Even short focused sessions build progress. Consistency matters more than duration. This habit proves to your mind that progress is not accidental. Routines also provide stability during difficult periods. When emotions fluctuate, routines remain steady. They act as anchors. On days when motivation is low, routines carry you forward. This reliability builds trust in yourself. Creating routines requires patience. The mind resists change initially. Old habits will pull. Discomfort will appear. Stay calm. Adjust gradually. Persistence reshapes identity. Identity reshapes behavior. Another key routine is reflection. Taking time to review actions reinforces learning. Reflection prevents drift. It allows correction without self-punishment. This habit strengthens awareness and direction. Routines should also include recovery. Rest is not weakness. It is maintenance. Without recovery, routines become burdens. Balance effort with rest. Sustainable routines support long-term growth. Protecting routines requires boundaries. Distractions will compete for attention. Decide in advance what you will allow. Boundaries support routines. Without boundaries, routines collapse. Routines prove worth because they replace self-talk with action. Instead of telling yourself you are capable, you demonstrate it daily. Demonstration convinces the mind more than words ever will. Over time, routines create rhythm. Rhythm creates flow. Flow improves performance. Performance builds pride. Pride grounded in effort is healthy. It strengthens self-respect. Another benefit of routines is reduced anxiety. Predictability calms the nervous system. When you know what comes next, uncertainty decreases. This calm allows clearer thinking. Routines also support discipline without harshness. They remove the need for constant force. When actions are habitual, they require less willpower. This efficiency preserves energy. It is important to start routines small. Avoid trying to change everything at once. Choose a few behaviors that matter. Build consistency. Expand gradually. Stability before expansion. Routines should align with values. Habits without meaning feel empty. Meaning fuels commitment. Choose routines that support who you want to become, not who you want to impress. Another practice is reviewing routines periodically. Life changes. Adjust routines to fit new responsibilities. Flexibility keeps routines effective. Routines also protect self-respect by reducing impulsive behavior. When structure exists, impulses have less control. Control strengthens confidence. Creating routines teaches patience with yourself. Progress may feel slow. Trust the process. Small actions repeated daily create large change. Your routines become your proof. Proof that you are reliable. Proof that you are disciplined. Proof that you respect yourself. This proof builds quiet confidence. You do not need perfect routines. You need consistent ones. Missed days happen. Resume calmly. Consistency over time matters more than perfection. As routines solidify, you begin to feel grounded. Decisions become easier, energy stabilizes, direction clarifies. Routines also influence how others perceive you. Consistency earns trust. Trust creates opportunity. Opportunity expands responsibility. Most importantly, routines shape how you see yourself. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. You trust your process. Creating routines is an act of leadership over yourself. It is choosing structure over chaos. It is choosing discipline over impulse. Commit to routines that support growth. Protect them quietly. Let them speak for you. When your daily actions align with your values, you no longer question your worth. You live it. Your routines are not just habits. They are promises you keep to yourself. Keep them. Over time, they will transform how you think, how you act, and how you stand in the world. Chapter 70. Lead your behavior before seeking recognition from others. Lead your behavior first and recognition will follow, because lasting respect is earned through consistent action, not through seeking applause. Decide privately how you will act in every situation that matters, and then let those decisions drive your words and choices publicly. People often wait for praise before they act boldly, but that sequence hands control of your progress to others. Leadership of self means choosing standards and following them whether anyone notices. When behavior leads recognition, you become reliable rather than reactive, and reliability creates opportunities that attention cannot counterfeit. Start by defining the behaviors that represent your best self in common scenarios. Identify how you will respond under stress, how you will treat colleagues, how you will prepare for meetings, and how you will follow through on promises. Make these behavioral commitments specific and measurable so they are testable in real life. Vague hopes like "I will try harder" have little power. Clear rules such as "I will arrive 15 minutes early to every meeting" force practical change and reduce excuses. When your rules are clear, you remove negotiation from the moment and perform by design. Next, create small experiments to test those behaviors. Choose one area of life and practice the new standard for 30 days. Treat the experiment seriously, record results, and adjust based on what you learn. Experiments remove pressure because they frame change as temporary trials rather than permanent judgments. This framing encourages curiosity and reduces fear of failure. Over time, these trials compound into a pattern of behavior that no longer requires conscious effort. A crucial practice is to act before approval. If you believe in an idea, present it without waiting for consensus. If a task needs doing, start before someone asks. If an apology is appropriate, give it without being prompted. Taking initiative signals maturity. It also trains your mind to value service over recognition. When action becomes the priority, the habit of waiting for validation fades. Another essential element is visible accountability. Share your commitments with a trusted person and ask them to check in. Accountability accelerates change because it adds an external cue to internal resolve. Choose someone who will be honest and direct, not flattering. The point is not to gain an audience, but to create a mirror that reflects whether your behavior matches your words. Use simple tools like a shared checklist, a weekly message, or a brief accountability call. Learn to separate praise from performance. Praise can be useful, but it should not be the engine of behavior. Use external feedback as data, not as currency. Examine compliments for useful information and then return to the work without depending on approval to keep going. This mindset preserves consistency because it keeps action anchored to standards rather than applause. Practice delivering value quietly. Do the work well even when no one is watching. Excellence done in private becomes a habit visible to the right people at the right time. Avoid the temptation to frame effort for attention. True influence grows from competence and integrity over time. When you consistently add value, recognition appears as a byproduct, not a pursuit. Refine how you respond to recognition when it does arrive. Receive praise with humility and gratitude. A simple thank you followed by redirection to the team or process communicates strength. Do not inflate success or turn it into a performance for more attention. Manage recognition by acknowledging contribution, then refocusing on the next task. This response breeds respect and discourages dependency on praise. Control your narrative by documenting progress objectively. Keep a private record of tasks completed, decisions made, and lessons learned. This log serves multiple purposes. It proves to you that action was taken when memory feels unreliable. It provides a clear resource to reference when asked about past work. It also prevents the need to seek validation through talk, because evidence replaces memory. Over months, the record becomes a quiet archive that demonstrates commitment. Build rituals that prepare you to lead behaviorally. Create short pre-performance routines that calm the nervous system and prime focus. A simple checklist of 5-minute review or a brief breathing exercise before a meeting increases clarity and reduces reactive responses. Routines are not superstition. They are structured ways to ensure your behavior aligns with your intention in moments that matter. Practice saying no to behaviors that undermine your standards. Declining tasks that distract from key responsibilities is a form of leadership. Saying no confers time and attention to what actually matters. It is acceptable to be selective about where you invest energy. The goal is not to avoid work, but to choose work that compounds. Protecting focus is a tangible way to lead your behavior. When mistakes occur, accept responsibility openly. Do not craft elaborate explanations or place blame on circumstances. A clear acknowledgement followed by immediate corrective steps demonstrates ownership and earns trust. People respect those who fix problems rather than invent reasons. This approach shortens recovery time and preserves credibility. Cultivate mental discipline so that emotion does not dictate conduct. Practice pausing before responding to provocation or pressure. Use simple techniques such as counting to 5, taking a breath, or asking a clarifying question. These small delays prevent impulsive reactions and allow responses that align with your standards. Emotional mastery is not coldness. It is choosing actions that serve long-term goals rather than short-term comfort. Model the behavior you seek from others. Influence is contagious when behavior is consistent and visible. When teammates see someone consistently preparing, delivering, and owning results, they adjust expectations and match performance. Leadership by example shifts group norms more effectively than verbal direction. Quiet, persistent modeling builds cultures where excellence becomes expected. Avoid trading short-term approval for long-term value. Quick wins earned through low standards buy temporary attention but rarely lead to sustainable growth. Choose depth over flash. Prioritize work that develops skill, relationships, and reputation even if it yields less immediate applause. Over time, depth builds credibility that lasts. Be deliberate about whom you allow to evaluate you. Feedback from people who understand your goals and context matters. Casual praise from observers who only see surface performance has limited value. Invest in mentors, peers, and collaborators who can offer constructive critique. Use their input to sharpen behavior, not to inflate ego. Create measurable indicators of the behaviors you want to lead. Simple metrics such as number of tasks completed on time, frequency of proactive communications, or rate of errors corrected provide clear feedback loops. Metrics keep focus on actions rather than feelings. Review them periodically and use adjustments to refine daily practice. Keep integrity at the core of your leadership. Avoid shortcuts that compromise values, even if they might bring temporary recognition. Integrity may slow initial progress, but it preserves reputation. A tarnished name is hard to rebuild. Leading behaviorally means never sacrificing long-term trust for short-term gain. Celebrate progress privately and modestly. Acknowledge milestone achievements with small non-performative rewards that reinforce the habit rather than seeking noisy celebration. Private recognition bottles the motivation for the next stage and prevents dependency on external applause. Train the habit of finishing what you start. Completion is a visible sign that behavior is leading and not merely intending. Broken tasks accumulate as silent evidence of inconsistency. Finishing work builds a track record that speaks louder than promises. Keep learning as a core activity because leading behavior requires evolving competence. Invest time weekly in deliberate practice and study. Improvement compounds when learning is paired with immediate application. A growing skill set makes it easier to act first because confidence is rooted in ability. Finally, remember that recognition is not a treaty to be negotiated before service is offered. Act first, refine later, and let results speak. When behavior consistently leads recognition, you control the narrative of your life. That kind of leadership creates momentum, integrity, and influence that outlasts the fickle approval of any single moment. Chapter 80. Practice bold decisions without waiting for permission. Make bold choices now, because waiting for approval quietly hands your life to other people. Deciding boldly without asking for permission starts with a simple inner rule you keep even when others are quiet or doubtful. Confidence in decision-making is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to move forward despite it while keeping clarity about what can be controlled. When hesitation becomes the default behavior, the world decides your limits for you. Choosing to act first reclaims those limits. Begin by narrowing the scope of the decision into what is immediately controllable. Large choices can feel paralyzing because they appear infinite in consequence. Break a big move into the next clear step you can take in 24 hours. That single step should reduce uncertainty and create information. Information shrinks fear, because once you know more, you can adapt intelligently. Make the first step small enough to be feasible but meaningful enough to change your momentum. Create a practical guardrail for every bold action. Courage without boundaries can be reckless. Decide in advance what you will do if the outcome starts to head in a harmful direction. Define a measurable threshold that signals when to reassess or pivot. This reduces the risk of paralysis after a mistake and allows you to take decisive action with a safety net. Guardrails make daring choices smarter because they limit downside while preserving upside. Practice making rapid, low-cost experiments. Treat choices like tests, not life sentences. A sequence of quick experiments generates real feedback fast and teaches you what works. Each small experiment should generate data you can learn from that day or the next. Over time, these tests build confidence because they replace abstract fear with concrete results. Own the decision publicly in a modest way so that your commitments have social traction. Saying you will do something to a trusted colleague or friend creates accountability that nudges behavior. Choose someone who will be honest and direct, not flattering. Accountability reduces the temptation to retreat because retreat becomes visible. Public accountability is a tool, not a show. Use it to sharpen follow through. Define the minimal viable outcome you require to consider the action useful. Perfection is a trap that delays forward motion. Identify what counts as a meaningful result and then work toward that benchmark. Delivering the minimal viable outcome quickly allows you to iterate and improve with real input rather than speculation. This keeps momentum alive and prevents decisions from stagnating in planning. Lean into discomfort as a sign you are moving the line. The body will produce signals, an elevated heartbeat, a tightening in the chest, an urge to rationalize delay. Notice these sensations without needing to remove them immediately. Naming the feeling calms it. A simple internal statement, such as "this is effort, not threat," converts alarm into energy. Over time, those sensations become familiar markers that indicate progress rather than warnings to stop. Develop a fast decision routine to reduce mental drag. Use a consistent checklist that you run through when choices appear. Ask what is the next smallest useful step, what resource gap exists, who needs to know, and what is the exit rule. Making this checklist automatic prevents overthinking and creates a habit of motion. Habits remove friction and make boldness repeatable. Learn from rapid failure by focusing on recovery rather than blame. When things do not go as hoped, the most valuable move is to stabilize the situation, quickly correct what is broken, and update the plan with new data. Emotional cleanup matters. Quietly address the immediate consequences, then extract lessons with curiosity. This process preserves momentum and turns setbacks into fuel. Balance intuition with evidence. Intuition develops from experience, but it can be clouded by wishful thinking. When possible, gather quick evidence before committing deeply. Talk to one or two people who understand the terrain, read a short piece of research, or run a tiny prototype. Evidence does not need to be exhaustive to be helpful. It must be relevant and timely. Anchor decisions to values, not to vanity. Choose actions that align with what matters to you rather than what will impress others. Decisions grounded in principle are easier to defend and less likely to be regretted. When feedback is poor, you can return to your value anchor and know whether the choice still makes sense. Values provide long-term direction while noise fades. Set a time limit for making non-critical choices. A deadline creates productive pressure and prevents analysis paralysis. Tell yourself you will decide by a specific time, then commit to that boundary. The decision will rarely be perfect, but it will be better than indecision. Habitually imposing deadlines trains decisiveness as a skill, not a mood. Cultivate a bias toward service in your choices. That looks like asking, what contribution does this decision make, rather than what recognition might it bring. Service-oriented decisions reduce attachment to approval and keep action rooted in usefulness. When impact becomes the primary goal, permission loses its power because service requires immediate motion. Practice the language of commitment. Replace tentative phrasing with clear statements. Instead of "I might consider doing this," say, "I will take these steps by this date." Strong language clarifies intent for you and for others. Words shape reality because they direct attention and invite accountability. Keep a record of decisions and outcomes in a concise journal. Over time, review the patterns. This archive becomes evidence of competence. When doubt arises, flip through past entries and see how many uncertain steps led to useful learning. The journal transforms foggy feelings into a clear narrative of progress. Choose timing strategically. Some moments require faster action than others. When the cost of delay rises, act quicker. When the environment is chaotic, accept that perfect information is unlikely and move with what you have. Timing is often the decisive factor between opportunity and missed possibility. Build a small reserve of energy and resources dedicated to taking action. Practical readiness requires a baseline of capacity. This might be a small savings buffer, a basic toolkit, or reserved time in the calendar. When a chance appears, the reserve allows you to respond instead of pleading for permission to improvise resources. Practice decisive conversations. Many actions stall because crucial discussions are delayed. Prepare to speak clearly about objectives, expectations, and next steps. Use short, direct messages, not long essays. Clear communication accelerates agreement and reduces the need for permission. Forgive yourself quickly when mistakes happen and return to action. Lingering shame discourages future boldness. Treat errors as evidence of exploration, not proof of incapacity. The quicker you reset, the sooner you can apply new insight. Surround yourself with doers who make decisions and accept consequences. The behavior of others influences your own. Joining a group that values action raises your baseline for what is acceptable. Connection with action-oriented people provides models of courage and practical tactics you can borrow. Test larger moves with staged commitments. Before committing fully, take a partial step that costs less and provides critical feedback. If the partial step succeeds, expand commitment. If it fails, limit the loss and learn. Staged commitments let you scale boldness sustainably. Honor the power of small, consistent risks. Daily micro-risks compound into major shifts over months and years. Repeating manageable, bold choices trains the nervous system to accept expansion. Habits of small risk reduce the emotional cost of larger ones. Remember that permission is rarely universal. Even when you feel ready, others will have doubts, and the timing will seldom be perfect from every perspective. Decide with responsibility and then proceed. Your permission is the first necessary authority. Earn external support through results, not through consent seeking. Finally, treat bold decisions as a form of practice for leadership over your own life. Each resolved choice reinforces the belief that you can steer your path. This confidence then enables larger commitments and deeper responsibility. Take action now with clear safeguards, gather quick feedback, and continue forward. Boldness, without begging for approval, is the only reliable route from possibility to reality. Chapter 90. Respect your time by acting with purpose. Daily, your time is your life in motion, and every purposeful action you take decides whether that life expands or quietly slips away. Respecting your time begins with the awareness that minutes are not neutral. They either serve a direction or dissolve into distraction. When you wake up without intention, the day claims you before you claim it. Acting with purpose is not about rushing or filling every hour with noise. It is about choosing what deserves your energy and refusing to spend yourself on what does not move you forward. Purpose starts internally before it shows externally. You must decide why today matters before today begins. This does not require a grand mission statement. It requires a clear understanding of what progress looks like in the next 24 hours. When the mind knows the aim, the body follows with less resistance. Without that aim, effort becomes scattered and exhaustion arrives early. Daily purpose grows from deliberate selection. Every morning you are selecting whether your attention will be guided or stolen. Notifications, endless scrolling, idle conversations, and mental drifting all compete for your awareness. Purposeful action means you choose first. You decide where your focus goes instead of reacting to whatever appears loudest. This single habit protects hours that would otherwise vanish unnoticed. Treat your calendar as a reflection of your values. What you schedule is what you respect. If the actions that matter most are always postponed, then your calendar is telling a truth you may not like. Begin placing important actions early in the day when your energy is strongest. This sends a signal to yourself that your priorities deserve your best effort, not your leftovers. Acting with purpose also means reducing friction between intention and execution. Prepare the night before in small ways that make the right action easier in the morning. Lay out materials, remove distractions, and define the first step clearly. When resistance is low, follow-through becomes natural. Discipline grows stronger when the path is simple. Purpose is sustained by clarity, not pressure. Many people confuse purpose with constant intensity and burn themselves out. True respect for time includes pacing. You are not meant to squeeze every second dry. You are meant to direct your effort where it produces meaning and growth. Rest becomes purposeful when it supports tomorrow's action rather than escaping from today. Learn to differentiate between activity and progress. Busy days can still be empty days if nothing meaningful moves forward. Ask yourself whether what you did created value or merely consumed hours. This question sharpens awareness and helps you refine how you spend your time. Progress leaves evidence. Activity often leaves only fatigue. One of the strongest ways to respect your time is to limit indecision. Prolonged hesitation drains energy without producing results. Set reasonable decision windows and commit once you have enough information. Momentum protects time because forward motion reduces mental drag. Clear decisions free attention for execution. Daily purpose requires saying no more often than saying yes. Every yes has a hidden cost. When you agree to something, you are also declining something else. Become intentional about your commitments. Choose fewer obligations and show up fully for them. This focus multiplies impact and reduces regret. Create a simple daily anchor that grounds your effort. This might be one task that, if completed, makes the day feel meaningful regardless of everything else. When days feel chaotic, return to that anchor. It provides stability and ensures that progress continues even in imperfect conditions. Respecting time also means respecting your energy cycles. Notice when your concentration is highest and schedule demanding tasks there. Use lower energy periods for routine work. Fighting your natural rhythm wastes effort. Working with it increases effectiveness without increasing hours. Purposeful action builds trust with yourself. Each day you follow through on what you said you would do. That trust strengthens. Self-trust reduces internal conflict and makes future commitments easier to keep. Over time, this creates a quiet confidence rooted in consistency rather than motivation. Avoid the trap of waiting for ideal conditions. Perfect timing rarely appears. Purpose thrives in imperfect environments. Start with what you have and refine as you go. Action clarifies direction far better than extended planning. Movement reveals what matters. Be mindful of transitions. The moments between tasks often disappear unnoticed. Use transitions intentionally. Pause briefly, reset your focus, and decide what comes next. This prevents mental carryover from draining attention and helps each action receive full presence. Purpose is reinforced by reflection. At the end of the day, take a short moment to review what mattered and what distracted you. This is not about judgment. It is about awareness. Awareness improves tomorrow's choices. Small reflections compound into wiser use of time. Protect your mornings and evenings. These bookends shape the entire day. How you start influences momentum. How you end influences recovery. Avoid filling these times with low-value inputs. Use them to set direction and close loops. This containment brings calm and clarity. Recognize that purposeful living is a skill developed through repetition. Some days will drift despite your efforts. Do not allow one unfocused day to become a pattern. Reset quickly. Return to intention the next morning. Consistency matters more than perfection. Purposeful action does not require dramatic change. It requires alignment. Align your actions with what you claim to care about. When alignment exists, effort feels lighter and time feels respected. When alignment is absent, even rest feels unsatisfying. Understand that your future is built in ordinary days. Big breakthroughs are rare, but steady progress is common for those who act with purpose daily. The accumulation of small intentional actions shapes direction more powerfully than occasional bursts of intensity. Choose presence over multitasking. Doing one thing fully often takes less time than doing many things poorly. Presence reduces mistakes and increases satisfaction. It also trains the mind to stay engaged rather than scattered. Let go of guilt about what you did not do and focus on what you chose to do. Purpose is strengthened by conscious choice, not by self-criticism. Guilt wastes time by anchoring attention in the past. Purpose anchors attention in the present. Every day offers a chance to demonstrate respect for your time through deliberate action. You do not need permission to live with intention. You only need the decision to treat your hours as valuable. Act with clarity, choose with care, and let each day reflect the direction you are building. Chapter 10: Improve skills relentlessly until confidence becomes natural. Confidence is not given. It is earned through relentless practice and consistent mastery of your skills. Every day you dedicate to improvement compounds into capability that your mind trusts and your body executes without hesitation. True confidence is natural because it is built on a foundation you constructed brick by brick through persistent effort, not because you hope others will notice or praise you. When skill becomes habitual, fear diminishes, uncertainty fades, and action flows without hesitation. Improvement begins with awareness of your current abilities. Identify the areas where you feel weak or uncertain. Be brutally honest about gaps in knowledge, technique, or execution. Avoid excuses or rationalizations. This clarity allows you to focus energy on what actually matters rather than spinning in illusion. Knowing exactly what needs development gives direction to effort. Without it, practice becomes aimless and results are inconsistent. Set measurable goals for each skill. Avoid vague objectives like "I want to get better." Define what success looks like in concrete terms. This could mean completing a specific project, mastering a particular technique, or achieving a measurable benchmark. Clear goals turn effort into evidence. When progress is visible, motivation strengthens naturally. Structure your practice deliberately. Avoid repeating actions mindlessly. Instead, isolate weak points and design exercises that challenge them. Use repetition to reinforce correct patterns while pushing boundaries gradually. Over time, these focused sessions solidify competence in ways casual effort cannot. Every session should leave you slightly stronger, faster, or more precise than before. Seek feedback consistently. Improvement thrives on external perspective. Ask mentors, peers, or knowledgeable sources to observe and critique your performance. Listen with openness, not defensiveness. Constructive input illuminates blind spots that habit alone cannot reveal. Apply feedback immediately to close the gap between intent and execution. Track your progress meticulously. Keep a log of sessions, results, and lessons learned. Review it regularly to identify patterns and areas requiring adjustment. Seeing tangible progress reinforces belief in your abilities and demonstrates that effort is transforming into mastery. Documentation converts scattered effort into structured advancement. Push beyond comfort deliberately. True skill improvement often requires discomfort. Engage with challenges that feel difficult or unfamiliar. Discomfort signals that growth is occurring. Avoid stagnation by seeking tasks that test your limits. The moment you feel uncertainty is the moment your ability expands. Each successful attempt under pressure strengthens confidence more than repeated success in easy scenarios. Focus on consistency rather than intensity alone. Long-term improvement comes from showing up regularly, not from occasional bursts of exceptional effort. Daily practice reinforces habit and strengthens neural pathways. Over time, this consistency transforms competence into instinct. Confidence emerges naturally because you trust the process and the preparation behind it. Combine theory with execution. Learning concepts without applying them limits progress. Practicing without understanding purpose creates shallow skill. Balance knowledge acquisition with deliberate action. Every principle should be tested, every method applied. This integration converts information into practical competence. Embrace mistakes as data, not failure. Each error reveals an adjustment necessary for mastery. Analyze missteps quickly, extract the lesson, and correct immediately. Avoid dwelling on shame or frustration. Reframe setbacks as opportunities to refine precision. Persistent learners treat mistakes as the fastest path to improvement. Increase challenge gradually. Avoid jumping to extremes that overwhelm capability. Stepwise difficulty preserves confidence while building competence. Each small victory reinforces belief that effort produces results. Over time, incremental expansion leads to mastery over complex situations without panic or hesitation. Diversify your practice to strengthen resilience. Apply skills in varied contexts to prepare for unexpected conditions. Adaptability ensures confidence is not fragile, tied to a single environment or scenario. Exposure to different challenges trains mental flexibility and physical control simultaneously. Monitor mental and emotional state during practice. Fatigue, frustration, or distraction reduces effectiveness. Develop awareness of energy cycles and schedule practice when focus is highest. Mindful engagement maximizes learning and accelerates skill acquisition. Reflect after each session. Review what worked, what failed, and what requires attention next. Reflection embeds lessons into memory and informs the next step. Consistent reflection accelerates improvement and prevents repeating unnecessary errors. Teach or explain skills to others when possible. Explaining concepts or demonstrating techniques deepens understanding and solidifies knowledge. Teaching forces clarity of thought and exposes gaps that might otherwise remain hidden. This process strengthens competence and reinforces confidence simultaneously. Develop rituals to prepare for practice. Warm-ups, focus routines, and mental preparation enhance performance. Rituals reduce cognitive load by creating consistent entry points into high-quality work. When preparation becomes habitual, execution becomes fluid and less susceptible to self-doubt. Measure both effort and outcome. While outcomes matter, valuing effort ensures motivation remains strong even when results are uneven. Reward consistent commitment to practice as much as visible success. This prevents discouragement and reinforces persistence. Balance specialization with general competency. Focus on key areas of growth while maintaining a baseline in related skills. This approach ensures confidence remains grounded in real ability, not narrow knowledge. Broad competence supports the depth of mastery by creating adaptable strength. Visualize skill application before execution. Mental rehearsal primes mind and body for performance. Visualization reduces error, builds anticipation, and strengthens neural pathways. Confidence grows when preparation includes both mental and physical repetition. Celebrate milestones privately. Recognize incremental achievements to maintain motivation and internal belief. Private acknowledgement strengthens intrinsic reward systems without dependence on external validation. Confidence rooted in internal proof is resilient and self-sustaining. Commit to lifelong improvement. Skills can always be refined. Treat mastery as an evolving pursuit, not a destination. Continuous effort ensures that confidence does not plateau or decay. Confidence becomes natural because it is constantly refreshed through persistent, deliberate action. Relentless skill development transforms uncertainty into competence. As your abilities grow, hesitation diminishes. Decisions become clearer, execution sharper, and belief in yourself automatic. By improving skills methodically, deliberately, and consistently, confidence becomes not a feeling borrowed from others, but an undeniable reality built from repeated evidence of your own capability. Chapter 11c. Speak with clarity and stand firmly behind choices. Speak clearly and stand firmly because words shape reality and influence every opportunity you encounter. The way you communicate defines how others perceive your competence, integrity, and confidence. Hesitation or vagueness in speech undermines authority, while clarity and conviction create presence. Speaking with precision is not about volume or showmanship. It is about choosing your words deliberately, understanding their impact, and committing to the principles behind them. When you align speech with action, your voice becomes a tool for leadership, influence, and self-respect. Begin by understanding the idea you wish to convey fully before speaking. Ambiguity in thought produces ambiguity in speech. Take a moment to organize reasoning, identify your main point, and consider potential objections. Preparing mentally allows your words to carry weight and reduces the likelihood of miscommunication. Every statement should have intention. Avoid filling silence with filler because noise dilutes meaning. Practice brevity. Speaking concisely forces you to prioritize what is essential. Excess words often confuse the message and reduce credibility. Distill thoughts to core ideas that can be expressed clearly in a single sentence when possible. Precision commands attention and reinforces confidence. People naturally listen when they sense purpose in your words. Support your words with knowledge and evidence. Clear statements backed by facts, experience, or logic inspire trust. Avoid making claims without understanding. If unsure, it is stronger to acknowledge the gap than to hedge with uncertainty. Humility combined with clarity signals intelligence and integrity. Speaking with authority begins with knowing what you are speaking about and being willing to adjust if new evidence appears. Practice standing by your choices publicly. Words are meaningless without action. When a decision is made, communicate it clearly and follow through consistently. Avoid second guessing or contradicting yourself because inconsistency erodes credibility. Commitment in speech reflects commitment in behavior, and the mind of your audience instinctively evaluates reliability through consistency. Avoid over-explaining. Excess justification often signals insecurity. A firm statement followed by deliberate action speaks louder than pages of defense. Confidence in your words does not require others' approval. Let clarity and consistency convey your competence rather than seeking validation. Anticipate challenges or questions. When you prepare for possible objections, you maintain composure under scrutiny. Responding calmly to pushback demonstrates mastery of both your ideas and your emotions. Preparation does not mean predicting everything, but it provides a framework to navigate resistance without wavering. Use tone and pace intentionally. Speaking too quickly may suggest anxiety, while speaking too slowly can lose attention. Balance rhythm to convey authority, calm, and engagement. Silence can be a powerful tool to emphasize key points. Pausing allows reflection, ensures comprehension, and reinforces control of the conversation. Align body language with words. Gestures, posture, and eye contact reinforce clarity and confidence. A mismatch between speech and non-verbal cues breeds doubt. Stand upright, maintain natural gestures, and make eye contact to anchor your statements in credibility. Physical presence enhances verbal authority. Embrace decisive language. Replace words like maybe, I think, or possibly with I will, I believe, or here is the decision. Tentative phrasing signals uncertainty, while decisive language communicates conviction. Being deliberate in word choice trains the mind to commit fully to decisions rather than linger in hesitation. Reflect before responding to high-stakes conversations. Take the time to formulate thoughts internally instead of reacting impulsively. Thoughtful speech commands respect because it demonstrates control and intentionality. Quick but considered responses balance speed with accuracy and prevent later regret. Develop routines for regular verbal practice. Speak your ideas aloud, record yourself, or rehearse presentations to refine clarity. Frequent practice trains articulation, strengthens confidence, and exposes areas of ambiguity before critical interactions occur. Repetition transforms deliberate effort into natural skill. Adopt a mindset of accountability for your words. Mean what you say and ensure actions align. Avoid empty promises or statements made to please. Reliability in speech builds trust over time and signals integrity. Your reputation strengthens each time words are honored by follow-through. Simplify complex ideas. Avoid jargon or unnecessary complexity unless context requires it. Clear language ensures understanding across diverse audiences. Mastery is demonstrated not by confusing speech, but by the ability to distill complexity into actionable insight. Clarity is a marker of intelligence and preparation. Practice empathy in communication. Understanding the perspective of the listener allows you to tailor phrasing, tone, and emphasis. Listening before speaking ensures relevance and demonstrates respect. Clarity improves when you consider how others receive and interpret your words. Communication is a dialogue, not a monologue. Handle disagreement with composure. Clarity is reinforced through calm, confident responses rather than defensive or emotional reactions. Address differing opinions directly but respectfully. Maintain focus on facts and reasoning, not on attempting to dominate or win emotionally. Standing firmly behind choices requires emotional control as well as verbal precision. Document key points in preparation for important conversations. Writing ideas down before speaking organizes thought and reduces errors under pressure. Reference notes discreetly when needed, but avoid reading verbatim. Preparation strengthens delivery and maintains focus on critical messages. Observe and learn from strong communicators. Study how they structure ideas, pace speech, and respond under scrutiny. Apply techniques selectively to enhance your style without copying. Modeling excellence accelerates skill development and reinforces effective verbal habits. Recognize that clarity is a habit developed over time. Daily conscious effort to speak with precision, align words with action, and stand firm strengthens both skill and confidence. Avoid shortcuts. Improvement is cumulative and sustained through practice. Protect your focus during conversation. Avoid being distracted by internal doubts, interruptions, or multitasking. Attention to the interaction ensures that your words are deliberate and impactful. Active engagement signals presence, understanding, and commitment. Measure success in communication by outcomes, not by volume. Effective speech changes understanding, prompts action, or builds trust. Speaking frequently without purpose does not create influence. Focus on quality, impact, and alignment with objectives. Finally, remember that speaking with clarity and standing firmly is a reflection of self-respect. When you honor your thoughts, decisions, and intentions through deliberate, precise, and committed speech, confidence becomes visible, influence grows naturally, and every word contributes to the reality you are creating. Clear, firm, and purposeful communication is not optional, it is essential to living a life of intentional action, authority, and unwavering self-belief. Chapter 20. Take responsibility for results and adjust quickly. Own every outcome, because responsibility is the bridge between action and mastery. When you stop blaming circumstances, people, or luck, you reclaim control over your life and the results you achieve. Excuses remove power, while accountability creates clarity, focus, and momentum. Taking responsibility is not punishment, it is the most effective strategy for growth, learning, and influence. Every result, positive or negative, carries information, and your willingness to absorb it determines the speed at which you improve. Begin by acknowledging that results are the natural consequence of your choices, effort, and decisions. Avoid the trap of attributing outcomes to external factors. Even when circumstances are difficult, there is always an element you can influence. Focus on what you can control first, then observe what happens beyond your control to inform future action. Responsibility starts with recognition of your sphere of influence. Measure outcomes honestly. Avoid rationalizing failures or inflating successes. Track performance with concrete metrics or observable effects. Accurate assessment provides the raw material for improvement. Without a clear view of results, adjustment is impossible. When you know exactly what happened and why, you can act decisively to replicate or correct. Respond to results quickly. Delay in adjustment wastes time, energy, and opportunity. Analyze the outcome, identify deviations from expectation, and plan corrective steps immediately. Rapid feedback loops accelerate learning. When you act fast, mistakes become lessons instead of setbacks. Momentum is built by responsiveness, not by hesitation. Develop a system for reflection and analysis. After every project, task, or decision, review the inputs, actions, and outputs objectively. Ask what went well, what did not, and why. Identify patterns that repeat across situations. Reflection converts experience into actionable knowledge, providing a map for faster and more precise adjustments in the future. Separate ego from responsibility. Accepting results does not require self-criticism or shame. Confidence grows when you see failures as neutral data rather than attacks on character. The faster you detach emotion from outcomes, the faster you can act to correct course. Emotional clarity allows rational and deliberate improvement rather than reactive scrambling. Prioritize immediate action over prolonged regret. When a result falls short, resist dwelling on mistakes. Shift energy to the next step that corrects or improves the situation. Prompt correction prevents compounding errors and signals competence to yourself and others. Swift adjustment reinforces your ability to control results instead of being controlled by them. Create contingency plans. Responsibility includes anticipating potential obstacles and preparing responses. While not every outcome can be foreseen, having strategies for common deviations allows rapid adaptation. Contingency reduces panic, maintains focus, and turns challenges into opportunities for growth. Planning ahead is a demonstration of proactive responsibility. Seek feedback actively. Others often observe angles you may miss. Collect input from peers, mentors, or team members and integrate relevant insights into adjustments. Feedback enhances situational awareness and improves decision-making speed. Responsibly using external perspective accelerates learning without surrendering ownership of results. Document lessons learned. Maintain a record of decisions, actions, and consequences. Include what worked, what failed, and what will be done differently next time. This archive becomes a reference for future challenges, reducing repeated mistakes and increasing confidence in decision-making. Writing consolidates understanding and ensures accountability is continuous. Practice accountability publicly when appropriate. Sharing commitments and updates with trusted colleagues or partners increases pressure to follow through. Public responsibility motivates focus, enhances consistency, and builds credibility. Being accountable in a visible way strengthens discipline and reinforces the habit of ownership. Adjust systems, not just actions. Sometimes results fail due to structural issues, workflow inefficiencies, or inadequate preparation. Examine processes and routines for weaknesses and correct them. Addressing systemic problems prevents recurring mistakes and amplifies the impact of future effort. Systems thinking is a higher level of responsibility that magnifies results. Balance speed and accuracy. Quick adjustments are valuable, but hasty actions without reflection can create new problems. Develop the ability to act decisively while maintaining attention to detail. Over time, rapid, accurate responses become second nature and strengthen confidence in managing results. Focus on what is actionable immediately. Distinguish between variables you can influence today and those beyond your control. Acting on what is practical maintains forward motion and prevents paralysis. Responsibility is effective only when it translates into tangible corrective steps. Develop resilience against criticism. Taking responsibility often exposes you to evaluation from others. Accept critique without defensiveness, using it to refine future behavior. Constructive criticism is a tool for acceleration, not a weapon to discourage action. Strong response to feedback strengthens both skill and credibility. Celebrate successful adjustments. Recognizing progress, even incremental, reinforces habits of accountability and adaptation. Reward yourself for correct actions taken in response to outcomes. Positive reinforcement ensures the habit of responsibility is sustained over time. Model responsibility consistently. Others will notice how you manage results. Acting with ownership in every interaction builds trust and influence. Your behavior sets expectations for colleagues, team members, and peers, creating an environment where accountability is valued and practiced collectively. Train the habit of preemptive responsibility. Anticipate outcomes before they occur and align actions with desired results. Forecast potential challenges and embed corrective measures into planning. Ownership begins in the mind before it manifests in external actions. Predictive responsibility reduces reactionary pressure and accelerates learning. Avoid transferring blame in communication. When discussing results, focus on facts, analysis, and next steps rather than justifying failures. Clear and constructive communication about outcomes reinforces professionalism and ensures that responsibility remains personal and proactive. Maintain consistency in taking responsibility. Accountability must be habitual, not occasional. Every project, task, or decision is an opportunity to practice ownership. Over time, consistent responsibility produces credibility, self-confidence, and control over increasingly complex results. Finally, integrate responsibility into identity. Let ownership of outcomes become a defining habit of thought and action. Every success confirms capability, every failure fuels improvement. Adjust quickly, act decisively, and internalize accountability so that results are no longer random but guided by your deliberate and capable hand. Mastery of outcomes is built on the foundation of relentless responsibility, immediate adaptation, and unwavering commitment to personal growth. Chapter 13. Choose growth habits that compound progress every day. Every small habit you choose today becomes the foundation for extraordinary growth tomorrow. Growth is not an event. It is the product of consistent daily choices that accumulate quietly yet powerfully over time. Each action that aligns with improvement, no matter how minor it seems, compounds into progress that compounds again, creating momentum that is unstoppable. Choosing habits intentionally transforms life from reactive drift into purposeful expansion. Success is rarely a sudden breakthrough. It is the cumulative effect of disciplined, repeated decisions that push skill, mindset, and capability forward every single day. Start by identifying habits that directly impact your most important goals. Focus on actions that improve skills, mindset, health, and relationships. Avoid habits that provide temporary satisfaction but no lasting value. Growth thrives on investment in areas that expand your capacity, not on distractions that consume your energy. Prioritize activities that move you forward in measurable ways, and embed them into your daily routine without negotiation. Simplify habits so that they are easy to execute consistently. Complexity kills consistency. A habit that is too difficult or confusing will fail to take root. Break each habit into manageable steps that can be performed reliably even on low-energy days. Simplicity ensures repetition, and repetition is the engine of compounding. Each repeated action strengthens neural pathways, turning effort into automatic competence. Integrate habits into your environment to support consistency. Design your surroundings so that positive actions are easier and negative ones harder. Place visual cues, organize resources, and remove distractions. The environment should reinforce the habits you intend to practice, making it more likely you will act without relying solely on willpower. Consistency becomes effortless when the system supports the behavior. Measure outcomes regularly. Habits are powerful only when progress is visible. Track performance improvement and the ripple effects of each habit. Data provides motivation, insight, and direction. Reviewing results helps identify which habits generate meaningful compounding impact and which require adjustment or replacement. Measurement transforms effort into evidence of progress. Combine multiple growth habits to create synergy. Align habits across physical, mental, and emotional domains. Exercise supports focus, learning supports creativity, and reflection enhances decision-making. When habits reinforce one another, the effect multiplies, accelerating compounding progress. Strategic integration amplifies results far beyond isolated actions. Be patient and resist the urge for immediate results. Compounding requires time. Each day of effort deposits value that may not be visible immediately but accumulates exponentially over months and years. Trust the process. The key difference between stagnant individuals and high achievers is persistence in the unseen accumulation of small, daily improvements. Anchor habits to routines. Embed new practices into existing rituals to ensure reliability. Associating habits with established actions reduces cognitive load and increases adherence. Consistency is easier when habits are tied to daily patterns that already exist in your life. Anchoring transforms intentional effort into automatic progress. Reflect on the impact of each habit periodically. Ask whether the actions you are repeating contribute to your long-term vision. Reflection allows refinement and ensures that compounding is directed toward meaningful goals rather than wasted energy. Awareness enhances effectiveness and maintains alignment with purpose. Embrace discomfort as a signal of growth. New habits often push you beyond comfort zones. Resistance is normal, but leaning into it ensures expansion. Avoid habits that feel easy but produce no measurable development. The friction encountered during disciplined practice is proof of progress in motion. Use accountability to strengthen habit formation. Share intentions with a trusted peer, coach, or group. Public commitment increases follow-through by creating social reinforcement. Accountability transforms abstract intentions into real action, sustaining growth and ensuring habits continue compounding over time. Prioritize high-leverage habits. Not all actions create equal impact. Focus on behaviors that influence multiple areas of life or skill. High-leverage habits produce compounding benefits across physical performance, mental clarity, emotional resilience, and relationships. Strategic selection magnifies the return on effort and accelerates meaningful progress. Replace passive consumption with active growth. Reduce time spent on distractions, entertainment, or low-value activities. Redirect that energy toward learning, practice, reflection, and action. Every hour dedicated to intentional growth compounds into skill, insight, and capacity that others may overlook until it manifests in results. Prepare for consistency by planning for obstacles. Identify potential disruptions to habits and design contingencies in advance. Preparation ensures resilience and prevents lapses from becoming long-term setbacks. Habit compounding thrives on reliability. The fewer interruptions, the faster growth accelerates. Combine habit formation with reward systems. Reinforce behaviors immediately after execution to strengthen neural pathways. Rewards can be intrinsic, like satisfaction from completing a task, or external, like marking progress visually. Positive reinforcement accelerates habit adoption and deepens compounding effects. Learn from micro-adjustments. Small improvements in technique, efficiency, or focus compound significantly over time. Treat each habit as a living process that can be refined. Incremental refinement enhances results without requiring drastic overhauls. Continuous improvement ensures that habits remain effective as goals evolve. Leverage morning and evening routines for compounding impact. The start and end of the day are high-leverage opportunities to implement habits that set momentum and consolidate progress. Morning actions prime energy and focus, while evening rituals reinforce reflection and planning. Consistent bookends enhance compounding effects. Avoid multitasking during growth habits. Focus amplifies results. Concentrating fully on one practice at a time ensures deeper engagement, better learning, and stronger compounding. Divided attention dilutes effort and slows accumulation of progress. Presence is a multiplier for habit effectiveness. Visualize long-term benefits to reinforce daily discipline. Seeing the future impact of consistent effort strengthens motivation and perseverance. Mental rehearsal links present actions to future outcomes, enhancing clarity, focus, and commitment. Visualization supports adherence by connecting small daily acts to large-scale transformation. Integrate accountability with self-assessment. Periodically review which habits are compounding effectively and which are stagnating. Adjust, replace, or strengthen practices to ensure continuous forward momentum. Growth is optimized when action is guided by reflection and informed decision-making. Commit to lifelong application. Compounding habits are not temporary experiments but permanent pillars of development. The cumulative effect over months and years produces extraordinary capacity. Each day compounds the previous, creating exponential improvement that is difficult to achieve with sporadic effort. Ultimately, choosing growth habits daily ensures that your progress is intentional, measurable, and accelerating. When actions are consistent, aligned with goals, and reinforced through reflection, accountability, and adaptation, improvement compounds naturally. Daily dedication transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results, creating a life defined not by random events but by deliberate, continuous growth. Chapter 4. Hold yourself accountable even when no one watches. True character is revealed when you act with integrity even when nobody is watching. Accountability is not about recognition or applause, it is the internal standard you set and honor for yourself. The habits you cultivate, the promises you keep, and the effort you commit in private define the trajectory of your life far more than public acknowledgement ever could. When you hold yourself accountable consistently, you build a foundation of self-trust that fuels confidence, resilience, and unstoppable momentum. Every action taken in isolation contributes to the pattern of excellence that eventually becomes visible to the world. Start by defining the standards that matter most to you. Accountability requires clarity about what you expect from yourself. Outline the behaviors, routines, and decisions that reflect the person you aim to be. Be specific about outcomes and daily practices. Vague aspirations invite inconsistency, but clear standards allow you to evaluate your actions honestly without external judgment. Knowing what you stand for internally creates the discipline to act consistently. Recognize that external supervision is unreliable. Waiting for others to notice your effort or correct your mistakes creates dependency and limits growth. True mastery comes from developing a system of self-monitoring and personal responsibility. You become both the standard bearer and the evaluator, which accelerates improvement and cultivates independence. Develop a habit of daily self-review. Reflect on your actions, decisions, and behaviors each day. Ask whether your actions aligned with the standards you set. Evaluate honestly without rationalization or excuses. Writing down observations reinforces self-awareness and ensures that accountability becomes tangible rather than abstract. Over time, this practice trains the mind to notice deviations immediately and correct them proactively. Commit to completing every task you start, no matter how small. Small promises kept consistently demonstrate integrity and reinforce self-discipline. The accumulation of these small victories strengthens internal authority and confidence. Conversely, neglecting minor responsibilities trains the mind to tolerate failure and weakens self-trust. Every promise you honor internally compounds into a reputation of reliability that begins within. Create systems that reinforce accountability. Set reminders, checklists, or tracking methods to monitor progress in real time. Systems remove reliance on memory and make adherence to standards automatic. They act as scaffolding until habits are deeply internalized. The more seamless your self-accountability system, the less mental effort is required to maintain consistency. Embrace discomfort as part of responsibility. Accountability often requires facing unpleasant truths about laziness, procrastination, or error. Avoidance weakens self-discipline and reinforces mediocrity. Confront shortcomings immediately, analyze them objectively, and adjust actions without delay. Strength grows not in comfort, but in the consistent choice to act correctly despite internal resistance. Set measurable criteria for your goals and habits. Define what success looks like in quantifiable terms so you can track adherence objectively. Ambiguity leads to rationalization, but clear metrics create clarity. Daily monitoring of progress ensures that your standards are upheld and deviations are corrected promptly. Measurement transforms accountability from concept to actionable practice. Detach from external validation. Holding yourself accountable requires internal motivation rather than reliance on praise or criticism. The highest performers act consistently regardless of recognition. External opinions are inconsistent, delayed, and often irrelevant. Trust your own judgment, observe results objectively, and act with the knowledge that your behavior defines your trajectory more than public approval ever will. Anticipate obstacles that could undermine accountability. Identify potential triggers for distraction, laziness, or rationalization. Develop strategies in advance to navigate these challenges. Preemptive planning ensures that adherence to personal standards is maintained even when conditions are difficult. Forethought transforms resistance into predictable events rather than crises. Practice immediate correction when standards are breached. Do not postpone accountability until later. Confront mistakes promptly, analyze their cause, and implement solutions without delay. Immediate action prevents small lapses from snowballing into patterns of negligence. Consistency in correction reinforces integrity and strengthens habit formation. Visualize the long-term consequences of your choices. Every decision made in private has ripple effects on your character, reputation, and future opportunities. Awareness of this impact encourages careful consideration and disciplined action. The more vividly you see the results of internal accountability, the more motivation you will have to maintain high standards even when no one observes. Train self-discipline as a muscle. Accountability is a habit that strengthens with repeated exercise. Start with manageable responsibilities and scale gradually. Each successful demonstration of integrity in isolation reinforces the mental framework necessary for more significant commitments. Over time, discipline becomes automatic, and holding yourself accountable requires less effort and more instinct. Develop rituals that anchor accountability. Begin each day by reviewing goals, standards, and priorities. Close the day by reflecting on actions taken and evaluating alignment with personal expectations. Rituals create structure, reduce decision fatigue, and make consistent adherence more attainable. Repetition ingrains responsibility into the fabric of your daily life. Avoid rationalizing failure. Excuses erode self-trust and create tolerance for underperformance. When you fail to meet a standard, acknowledge it honestly, extract lessons, and adjust behavior. Rationalization weakens internal authority, while candid recognition of shortcomings strengthens self-governance. Accountability requires unflinching honesty with oneself. Balance accountability with self-compassion. Recognize that growth involves errors and setbacks. Punishment without learning is ineffective. Treat mistakes as data to guide improvement, rather than evidence of inadequacy. Responsible action combines ownership with deliberate correction, creating resilience and momentum instead of guilt and stagnation. Model accountability in visible actions when appropriate. While private accountability is paramount, demonstrating responsibility publicly reinforces your internal standards. Others notice when consistency originates from genuine self-discipline rather than external pressure. Modeling accountability inspires trust and encourages a culture of reliability around you. Eliminate the temptation to defer responsibility. Procrastination weakens integrity and undermines confidence. Take immediate ownership of tasks, decisions, and outcomes. Acting promptly builds momentum, reinforces self-trust, and accelerates progress. Delaying accountability is a slow form of self-sabotage. Use accountability as a lens for decision-making. Before committing to actions, ask whether you will follow through consistently even when unobserved. Decisions filtered through internal responsibility produce stronger outcomes, reduce regret, and increase reliability. Choosing wisely in alignment with accountability strengthens long-term performance. Finally, internal accountability transforms life from reactive chance into deliberate design. When every action, choice, and commitment is monitored and executed according to your personal standards, consistency becomes automatic, integrity becomes visible, and trust in yourself becomes unshakable. Holding yourself accountable even when no one watches is not a burden. It is the path to mastery, self-respect, and enduring personal growth. Chapter 15. Learn from feedback without defending your ego. True growth comes when you listen to feedback fully and leave your ego behind. Every comment, critique, or observation holds a piece of truth that can accelerate improvement if you approach it with openness. Defending yourself immediately creates resistance and blocks learning, but absorbing insight without judgment transforms even harsh criticism into a roadmap for progress. Feedback is not an attack, it is a mirror reflecting areas for refinement, skill enhancement, and personal development. The faster you accept guidance without defensiveness, the faster you evolve. Start by shifting perspective on criticism. Understand that feedback is information about results, behavior, or perception, not an indictment of character. When you separate personal identity from performance, your mind becomes free to process the message objectively. Every critique has a practical component, and extracting it requires detachment from pride. Your ego should never control how knowledge is received. Listen actively. Focus entirely on the speaker, avoid interrupting, and resist the urge to justify actions immediately. Clarify points with questions only to deepen understanding, not to defend yourself. Active listening ensures that the full message is received without distortion. Often, the most valuable insights are embedded in details you might overlook when defensive. Pause before responding. Take a moment to reflect on the feedback before reacting emotionally or verbally. Immediate defensiveness signals insecurity and can shut down productive dialogue. Reflection allows you to separate feeling from fact, ensuring responses are measured, thoughtful, and oriented toward improvement rather than protection of pride. Analyze the feedback objectively. Break it down into specific behaviors, outcomes, or patterns. Identify which aspects are actionable and which are subjective opinion. Focus on the elements that can be adjusted, learned from, or applied to future situations. Objectivity transforms criticism into practical steps rather than emotional conflict. Recognize your ego triggers. Notice the moments when critique feels like a personal attack. Awareness of emotional reactions allows control rather than reflexive defensiveness. Train yourself to observe reactions without judgment, treating discomfort as a signal to pause and process. Emotional regulation is the gateway to learning without resistance. Adopt a mindset of improvement over validation. Feedback is valuable only when the goal is growth, not approval. Shift focus from being right to being better. This perspective transforms criticism into a tool for development and reduces attachment to defending self-image. Progress requires humility, curiosity, and willingness to adjust behavior. Seek clarification when necessary. Constructive feedback can sometimes be vague. Ask for examples, evidence, or suggestions for alternative approaches. Clarifying allows precise understanding of the issue and ensures that adjustments are effective. Precision prevents misinterpretation and accelerates the learning process. Document insights from feedback. Record observations, action points, and lessons learned for future reference. This creates a tangible guide for improvement and helps track progress over time. Documentation converts fleeting advice into permanent tools for development. Reviewing notes periodically reinforces learning and ensures continuous adaptation. Implement changes immediately. Feedback without action is wasted. Identify small steps you can take now to improve and begin applying them without delay. Rapid application builds confidence, reinforces learning, and demonstrates responsibility for personal growth. Action validates understanding and strengthens competence. Separate constructive feedback from negativity. Not all criticism is useful. Evaluate the source, context, and intent. Retain what is actionable and discard what is irrelevant or malicious. Learning requires discernment, not passive absorption of every opinion. Wise selection maximizes value while protecting focus. Practice gratitude for feedback. Express appreciation to those who provide insight, even when it challenges you. Gratitude fosters continued openness from others and reinforces a growth-oriented mindset. Viewing critique as a gift rather than a threat encourages receptiveness and reduces defensive reactions. Avoid internalizing negative comments as permanent truths. Separate the message from your identity. Weaknesses or errors are not your definition, they are opportunities for targeted improvement. Internalizing feedback objectively prevents discouragement and maintains motivation for consistent progress. Create feedback loops regularly. Actively request input from mentors, peers, and collaborators to gain diverse perspectives. Continuous feedback accelerates refinement and prevents stagnation. Regular input also normalizes critique, reducing the emotional charge associated with receiving it. Reflect on patterns in feedback over time. Look for recurring themes or repeated observations. Identifying consistent areas for improvement allows prioritization of effort and strategic focus. Trends reveal strengths to reinforce and weaknesses to address systematically. Long-term reflection compounds progress. Practice humility daily. Accept that no matter your expertise or experience, there is always room to improve. Humility opens the mind to new methods, insights, and perspectives that would otherwise be ignored. True confidence does not fear feedback. It embraces it as a necessary ingredient for mastery. Separate feedback reception from emotional interpretation. Recognize that initial discomfort is natural but temporary. Train your mind to pause before attaching judgment to comments. Neutral observation allows the substance of feedback to be used constructively while minimizing emotional disruption. Actively integrate lessons from feedback into routines. Adjust habits, refine methods, and experiment with alternative approaches based on input. Repetition of improved behavior transforms insight into automatic skill. Feedback becomes a tool for compounding growth when applied consistently. Develop resilience to criticism. Exposure to feedback, especially challenging or negative, strengthens emotional stability over time. The more you practice responding with openness rather than defensiveness, the easier it becomes to receive guidance without resistance. Resilience amplifies the ability to learn under pressure. Model receptiveness for others. Demonstrating the ability to accept feedback without ego inspires peers and creates an environment of collective improvement. Leadership is reinforced when others see that accountability and growth are valued over defensiveness or self-protection. Finally, mastering the skill of learning from feedback without defending ego transforms every interaction into a training ground. By listening fully, reflecting objectively, implementing action, and maintaining emotional control, you convert critique into powerful, compounding growth. The ego no longer obstructs development, but supports disciplined, strategic learning that accelerates skill, confidence, and influence. Chapter 16. Demand excellence from yourself before expecting it externally. Excellence begins with the standards you set for yourself and the relentless effort you apply daily. Expecting high performance from others without first holding yourself accountable is a shortcut to disappointment. True leadership and influence emerge when your own work, habits, and mindset meet the level of quality you demand externally. The energy, consistency, and integrity you invest in yourself become the benchmark for how others perceive you and the results they deliver. By insisting on excellence internally first, you create a foundation that naturally raises expectations, inspires trust, and compels others to rise alongside you. Begin by evaluating your current standards honestly. Identify areas where you are settling for mediocrity, delaying effort, or tolerating subpar performance. Set precise expectations for your work ethic, decision-making, attention to detail, and accountability. Clarity in personal standards is essential because vague intentions produce inconsistent results. Excellence requires specificity in what you are willing to commit to and the quality you insist upon in every action. Develop daily practices that reinforce high standards. Every task, whether large or small, becomes an opportunity to demonstrate diligence, skill, and integrity. Approach routine activities with focus and intentionality. Excellence is not only in visible achievements but in the consistency and quality of everyday actions. Over time, disciplined application in small tasks compounds into mastery in larger responsibilities. Eliminate tolerance for excuses. Excuses dilute performance, reduce accountability, and signal complacency. Accept that the effort, focus, and discipline required for excellence start with your own commitment. When results fall short, analyze the cause objectively, take responsibility, and adjust actions. Consistently holding yourself to high standards strengthens resilience and reinforces credibility. Invest in self-improvement relentlessly. Study, practice, and develop skills that directly enhance your competence and impact. Excellence demands growth in knowledge, strategy, and execution. By investing in yourself consistently, you ensure that your abilities match the expectations you will later communicate to others. Continuous personal development becomes a prerequisite for demanding results externally. Maintain precision and attention to detail. Excellence is not a general concept but a series of deliberate, thoughtful actions executed carefully. Small lapses compound into larger failures, while consistent precision builds trust, reliability, and reputation. Treat every task as an opportunity to reinforce internal standards and demonstrate capability. Challenge yourself regularly. Avoid comfort zones that limit growth. High performance requires stretching beyond familiar routines, testing limits, and confronting difficulties head-on. Self-discipline and courage combined create a foundation that allows you to maintain excellence under pressure and inspire others to follow. Measure progress objectively. Track results, behaviors, and habits with concrete criteria. Use data to evaluate whether your internal standards are being met consistently. Measurement provides clarity, reinforces accountability, and identifies areas requiring adjustment. Excellence is quantifiable and observable when assessed methodically. Model the behavior you expect from others. Lead by example, demonstrating dedication, skill, and integrity in every interaction. When your actions embody the standards you demand, they set a benchmark others respect and aspire to reach. Leadership is grounded in the alignment between words and deeds. Practice discipline in unseen moments. Excellence is not only public performance, but the quality of work completed when no one is watching. Private effort builds internal authority and confidence, ensuring that external expectations are grounded in authentic capability. Self-respect grows as actions align consistently with high standards. Set ambitious goals and approach them with rigor. Targets should stretch your abilities and motivate intentional effort. Excellence emerges when goals are pursued with discipline, focus, and unwavering commitment. Clearly defined objectives transform intention into structured action, creating measurable benchmarks of progress. Maintain accountability for results. Evaluate outcomes, identify gaps, and implement improvements without delay. Excellence requires ownership and willingness to correct errors promptly. Personal accountability signals integrity and sets a precedent for the quality you expect from others. Avoid settling for external validation. Do not rely on recognition, praise, or approval to motivate effort. Internal standards should drive behavior. When your own commitment defines excellence, external expectations naturally align with your actions rather than controlling them. Cultivate patience with process. Mastery and high standards are achieved over time through consistent effort, reflection, and refinement. Excellence is cumulative, resulting from persistent dedication rather than sporadic performance. Trust in daily effort compounds into competence and authority. Communicate standards clearly when appropriate. When asking for collaboration, ensure expectations are precise, consistent, and aligned with your own demonstrated commitment. Clarity reinforces accountability, reduces misunderstandings, and creates a culture where high performance is normalized. Develop resilience under pressure. Upholding high standards often challenges comfort, invites scrutiny, and tests persistence. Endure difficulties with focus and composure, ensuring that your commitment to excellence remains unwavering. Strength under challenge sets a compelling example for others. Refine habits that reinforce capability. High standards are sustained by routines that develop skill, efficiency, focus, and consistency. Evaluate and adjust daily practices to ensure alignment with the level of performance you demand internally. Strong habits compound into reliable results. Reflect regularly on alignment between effort and expectations. Consistent review ensures that standards are being met and informs necessary adjustments. Continuous reflection transforms ordinary routines into structured pathways to mastery. Excellence requires vigilance in maintaining standards over time. Reward progress strategically. Recognize milestones and improvements to reinforce motivation and commitment. Celebrating disciplined effort, skill growth, and consistent performance strengthens internal drive to maintain high standards. Positive reinforcement sustains momentum and inspires further development. Finally, demanding excellence from yourself before expecting it from others establishes authority, credibility, and influence. By committing fully to your personal standards, refining skills relentlessly, and demonstrating integrity in every action, you set a foundation that others naturally follow. Excellence begins within, radiates outward, and creates a life defined by competence, confidence, and unshakable self-respect. Chapter 17. Serve others confidently without shrinking your own value. Serving others is a demonstration of strength, not a compromise of your own value. True generosity comes from a place of confidence, skill, and clarity about your worth. Helping, guiding, or supporting others does not diminish your capabilities. It reinforces your influence, strengthens relationships, and creates an environment where collaboration and mutual growth thrive. Many people fear giving or supporting because they equate service with weakness or loss. But the opposite is true. When you serve with confidence, you expand your impact and demonstrate leadership rooted in competence and self-respect. Start by defining your boundaries clearly. Serving effectively requires knowing where your responsibilities begin and end, what you are willing to offer, and what cannot be compromised. Boundaries protect your energy and ensure that service is sustainable. When you respect yourself first, your contributions are authentic and impactful, and you avoid being overextended or exploited. Approach service with competence and preparation. Confidence comes from knowing that what you give is valuable and effective. Invest in skills, knowledge, and emotional intelligence so that your help makes a tangible difference. Unprepared or uncertain assistance erodes both confidence and influence. Excellence in service builds credibility and reinforces the respect of those you support. Separate intention from ego. Serving is not about seeking approval, praise, or recognition. Genuine service focuses on contribution and the benefit of others rather than validation for yourself. When action is driven by purpose rather than ego, it feels natural, sustainable, and empowering. Your worth is inherent, not contingent on how your actions are perceived externally. Communicate clearly while serving. Confidence is demonstrated through clarity in what you offer and how you execute it. Avoid over-promising or under-delivering and ensure expectations are realistic. Clear communication establishes trust, prevents misunderstandings, and reinforces the perception that your support is competent and reliable. Serve strategically. Identify where your skills, knowledge, or influence can produce the most meaningful impact. Giving blindly without alignment to strengths can create fatigue and reduce effectiveness. Focused, thoughtful service ensures that your efforts are noticed for their value, not their volume, and prevents dilution of your energy or credibility. Maintain self-respect in all interactions. Confidence in service requires that you do not sacrifice your principles, integrity, or personal standards. Never compromise your values to please others or to be accepted. Strong service is rooted in authenticity, demonstrating that you can give generously without losing yourself. Observe the principle of reciprocity wisely. Helping others often encourages collaboration, trust, and mutual support. While service should not be transactional, understanding that relationships thrive when respect and contribution are balanced reinforces confidence. Giving confidently without fear of loss creates a natural flow of influence and opportunity. Develop emotional resilience to handle rejection or criticism. Not every attempt to help will be accepted or appreciated. Serving with confidence means understanding that refusal or disagreement does not diminish your value. Emotional stability ensures that setbacks do not erode your willingness to contribute or your perception of self-worth. Serve consistently, not sporadically. True influence is built over time through repeated, reliable action. Sporadic effort can appear self-serving or unreliable. Daily or regular acts of meaningful support reinforce reputation, strengthen trust, and compound the effects of your contributions over time. Consistency demonstrates both skill and integrity. Balance service with self-care. Helping others should never come at the expense of your physical, mental, or emotional well-being. Sustainable contribution requires energy, focus, and stability. Prioritize your health habits and routines so that you can serve effectively without depletion. Confidence in giving stems from the assurance that you are strong enough to maintain both yourself and others. Avoid over-identifying with those you serve. While empathy is critical, maintaining emotional distance preserves objectivity and ensures that your actions are constructive rather than enabling. Support others without absorbing their struggles entirely, protecting your own focus and stability while still being fully present. Teach rather than impose. Service rooted in guidance, mentorship, or skill sharing empowers others to grow rather than creating dependency. Helping someone learn or develop fosters independence, increases their capabilities, and amplifies the impact of your contribution. Confidence emerges when your support produces lasting, self-sustaining results. Observe and adapt to feedback. Service is more effective when informed by results and responses. Adjust your approach without taking rejection personally or diminishing your own value. Reflection on effectiveness strengthens your ability to contribute meaningfully in the future. Flexibility demonstrates wisdom and reinforces self-assurance. Use challenges as opportunities to model strength. Difficult situations often require service under pressure or uncertainty. Confidently stepping forward in these moments demonstrates capability, inspires others, and reinforces your own sense of competence. Resilience under challenge differentiates superficial assistance from impactful contribution. Serve with authenticity. Avoid giving in ways that feel performative or self-serving. True confidence comes from actions aligned with your values, expertise, and capacity. Authenticity builds trust, enhances respect, and ensures that your value is never undermined while supporting others. Cultivate gratitude for the ability to contribute. Recognize that having the skills, knowledge, and resources to help others is itself a privilege. Gratitude strengthens the mindset that service is a natural extension of your growth rather than a burden. Appreciation reinforces confidence in giving without diminishing self-worth. Maintain focus on long-term impact rather than short-term approval. Immediate praise or recognition should never dictate your service. Concentrate on lasting results, skill development, and meaningful outcomes. The confidence that emerges from long-term contribution is far more sustainable and influential than temporary validation. Lead by example. Your behavior, commitment, and quality of action set a standard for those around you. Others will mirror the confidence, discipline, and integrity they observe. Leadership through service demonstrates that contribution and self-respect are not mutually exclusive. Celebrate your achievements in service privately. Acknowledge internally the difference you make, reinforcing self-respect and confidence. External recognition is optional. Internal acknowledgement ensures that your value is never dependent on others. Self-appreciation sustains motivation and clarity of purpose. Finally, serving others confidently without shrinking your own value is a balance of skill, boundaries, integrity, and self-awareness. By maintaining standards, protecting energy, and focusing on authentic impact, you expand influence without compromise. True service elevates both you and those you support, creating growth, respect, and empowerment that multiplies through action, consistency, and unwavering self-respect. Chapter 18. Win daily by completing small promises to yourself. Every victory begins with the promises you make to yourself and the discipline to fulfill them consistently. Success is not a single grand event, but a series of small commitments honored daily. Completing even minor promises builds trust in yourself, strengthens your confidence, and sets the foundation for larger achievements. Each promise kept is a personal win, reinforcing the idea that your word and actions align perfectly. By focusing on small, actionable commitments, you create momentum, develop self-discipline, and prove to yourself that you are capable of reliability and excellence. Start by identifying clear, manageable promises each day. These should be specific actions or habits that you can realistically complete within the day. Whether it's completing a focused work session, exercising, reading, or responding promptly to responsibilities, clarity ensures that success is measurable. Ambiguity leads to procrastination, but defined promises create accountability and a clear path to follow. Treat each promise as non-negotiable. Avoid rationalizing why it can be delayed or skipped. Internal commitment, not external pressure, must drive adherence. When you honor these small agreements consistently, you cultivate self-respect and develop a mental framework that equates effort with integrity. Completing promises to yourself becomes a habit of reliability that naturally extends to other areas of life. Prioritize promises based on impact. Not all commitments carry equal weight. Identify actions that compound over time, such as learning a new skill, developing a health routine, or maintaining focus on long-term goals. Completing high-value promises daily ensures that your energy produces meaningful results and accelerates personal growth. Break larger goals into small promises. Ambitious objectives can feel overwhelming and unattainable without segmentation. Divide significant projects into manageable tasks and commit to completing them incrementally each day. This approach makes progress tangible, reduces stress, and reinforces the habit of consistent action. Track completion and reflect on progress. Recording fulfilled promises creates a visible trail of achievement, motivating continued discipline. Reflection allows you to assess what strategies work, which obstacles emerge, and how to improve execution. Accountability to yourself is strengthened when achievements are monitored, celebrated, and used to inform future action. Avoid overcommitting. Promises should be challenging enough to push effort, but realistic enough to complete. Failure to honor commitments due to unrealistic expectations undermines self-trust and confidence. Start small, establish consistency, and gradually expand scope as discipline and capability grow. Sustainable momentum comes from reliability, not overstretching. Celebrate consistency, not perfection. The value lies in the cumulative effect of keeping promises, not in achieving flawless adherence. Acknowledge progress and use minor setbacks as learning opportunities. Completing most promises consistently strengthens confidence and reinforces a habit of reliability that compounds over time. Eliminate distractions that threaten fulfillment. Identify triggers that cause procrastination, loss of focus, or energy depletion. Create an environment conducive to honoring commitments. Removing obstacles ensures that keeping promises is supported by the external environment as well as internal motivation. Practice intentionality in every action. Approach each promise with full focus, effort, and presence. Completing tasks half-heartedly weakens the internal discipline that builds self-trust. Excellence in small commitments trains the mind to deliver consistently, setting a standard for larger responsibilities. Anchor promises to routines. Integrate commitments into daily schedules and habitual behaviors. Regular practice reduces decision fatigue and ensures that promises are consistently honored without relying solely on willpower. Structured routines make discipline automatic over time. Reflect on the consequences of not keeping promises. Awareness of the negative impact of neglecting commitments heightens motivation. Self-trust erodes when actions and intentions diverge. Understanding this connection reinforces the importance of discipline and accountability in small daily actions. Take immediate action. Do not postpone fulfilling promises until later. Immediate completion strengthens the association between intention and result, reinforcing reliability. Delaying commitments trains the mind to tolerate inconsistency and undermines confidence. Visualize the cumulative impact. Every small promise kept contributes to larger personal growth, skill development, and life improvements. Visualizing how daily commitments compound into significant achievements motivates consistent action and reinforces the value of discipline. Avoid using circumstances as excuses. External conditions rarely align perfectly with intentions. Develop the habit of completing commitments regardless of comfort, mood, or convenience. Consistency in adversity strengthens self-discipline and proves to yourself that reliability is non-negotiable. Practice self-reflection before sleep. Review each promise made and assess completion honestly. Identify what enabled success, what obstacles arose, and how to adapt for the next day. Reflection reinforces accountability and ensures that habits of reliability continue to strengthen. Encourage small acts of integrity beyond daily routines. Every choice, no matter how minor, is an opportunity to honor commitments to yourself. Whether it's returning a call promptly or finishing a small task fully, these acts accumulate into a strong sense of personal reliability. Reinforce promises with affirmations of capability. Remind yourself daily that you are capable of completing commitments and that each small success builds momentum. Mental reinforcement strengthens focus, motivation, and resilience in maintaining discipline. Develop resilience to minor failures. Some promises will inevitably be missed. Accept responsibility without self-punishment, analyze causes, and recommit immediately. The practice of recovery and immediate re-engagement reinforces the habit of consistent fulfillment over time. Finally, winning daily through small promises transforms life from chaos and procrastination into deliberate progress. Each completed commitment strengthens self-trust, builds confidence, and compounds into meaningful results. By consistently honoring your word to yourself, you develop a foundation of discipline and reliability that shapes every aspect of life, proving that personal victories begin in small, intentional, and consistent actions. Chapter 19Z. Persist through discomfort and prove resilience with action. Resilience is built in the moments when everything inside urges you to stop and the discomfort feels unbearable. Growth and achievement never come from ease. They come from the willingness to continue when the path is hard, when progress is slow, and when every instinct tells you to quit. Persisting through discomfort is not a matter of stubbornness, but of strategy, discipline, and commitment to long-term goals. Each step taken in the face of difficulty strengthens your mind, fortifies your habits, and proves to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Begin by recognizing that discomfort is inevitable in any meaningful pursuit. Avoid interpreting it as a signal to retreat. Instead, view it as evidence that you are moving forward, stretching boundaries, and challenging limitations. The mind often reacts to temporary difficulty with resistance, but the disciplined choice to continue converts that resistance into momentum. Focus on immediate action rather than distant outcomes. When discomfort appears overwhelming, break the task into smaller, manageable steps. Completing these micro-actions builds a sense of progress and confidence, reinforcing the idea that perseverance is achievable. Action itself is the antidote to fear and resistance. Strengthen mental toughness by embracing challenges proactively. Seek situations that push you beyond comfort zones regularly. Whether it is learning a new skill, handling criticism, or taking on responsibilities that feel intimidating, repeated exposure to difficulty trains your mind to remain steady and confident under pressure. Persistence becomes instinctive when discomfort is normalized rather than avoided. Develop coping strategies for physical and emotional strain. Deep breathing, focused attention, and visualization of successful outcomes can stabilize the mind and body in stressful situations. Controlling responses to discomfort ensures that energy is channeled productively rather than wasted on avoidance or doubt. Adopt a mindset that values process over immediate comfort. Long-term goals require repeated effort, sacrifice, and patience. Each moment of struggle is part of the process, and each action taken despite discomfort compounds into skill, resilience, and strength. Trust that the effort invested now yields results later. Use discomfort as a teacher. Analyze why a situation feels challenging. Identify gaps in skill, preparation, or mindset, and take action to address them. Understanding the source of difficulty transforms it from a threat into an opportunity for improvement. Reflection ensures that persistence is guided by learning, not blind endurance. Maintain consistency even when motivation wanes. Motivation fluctuates naturally, but persistence is grounded in disciplined action rather than fleeting feeling. Set routines and standards that compel action regardless of emotional state. Over time, repeated effort strengthens habits, reduces resistance, and makes persistence automatic. Visualize the benefits of enduring discomfort. Imagine the skills gained, the confidence built, and the goals achieved through consistent action. Visualization reinforces commitment and transforms abstract effort into a tangible reward, motivating continued perseverance even in difficult moments. Anchor persistence in purpose. Connect your actions to meaningful objectives that extend beyond temporary struggle. A clear sense of purpose provides direction and energy when challenges intensify. Understanding why you continue strengthens resolve and clarifies priorities. Prepare for setbacks as part of the journey. Persistence does not mean that obstacles disappear, but that you continue despite them. Each challenge overcome reinforces resilience and provides lessons that refine strategy, improve decision-making, and enhance adaptability. Resilient action turns difficulties into stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Practice self-discipline daily. Resilience is strengthened by repeated practice in controlled settings where discomfort is intentionally faced and managed. Small challenges faced consistently prepare the mind and body for greater adversity in life, making the response to real difficulty automatic and composed. Observe and manage internal dialogue. Negative thoughts or self-doubt intensify discomfort and hinder action. Replace hesitation with constructive internal commands that focus attention on what can be done now. Clear, decisive self-talk strengthens persistence and reinforces confidence in your capabilities. Celebrate incremental progress. Recognize that each step completed under discomfort is a victory, even if the larger goal is distant. Celebrating progress reinforces positive behavior and motivates continued action. Recognition of effort sustains momentum and prevents discouragement. Balance endurance with strategic recovery. Persistence does not mean ignoring fatigue or ignoring limitations entirely. Rest, reflection, and restoration enhance the ability to sustain effort over time. Strategic recovery ensures that resilience is maintained without burnout. Learn from those who exemplify persistence. Study individuals who achieved success through relentless effort despite difficulty. Observe their habits, mindset, and strategies. Emulating proven approaches provides a roadmap for managing discomfort while maintaining progress. Apply incremental pressure to expand capacity. Gradually increase challenges to build tolerance for discomfort. This progressive exposure strengthens both mental and physical resilience, making previously difficult tasks manageable. Growth occurs at the edge of current abilities. Maintain accountability to yourself. Track actions, results, and adherence to commitments even when no one observes. Personal accountability strengthens resolve, reinforces discipline, and ensures that persistence is sustained independently of external validation. Reframe failure as feedback. Understand that missteps or setbacks are signals for adjustment, not reasons for surrender. Analyze what went wrong, learn, and immediately resume action. Persistence is reinforced when failure is viewed as part of the growth process rather than a final verdict. Surround yourself with support that encourages resilience. Engage with individuals who model discipline, persistence, and strength in adversity. Positive influence reinforces behavior, provides motivation, and creates an environment where enduring discomfort is normalized and celebrated. Finally, proving resilience through action transforms discomfort into a tool for growth and achievement. By committing fully to consistent effort, managing internal and external challenges, and maintaining focus on purpose, every moment of struggle becomes an opportunity to demonstrate strength. Persistence is not merely enduring, it is the disciplined, intentional, and courageous application of effort when conditions are difficult, creating a life defined by capability, confidence, and unshakable self-belief. Chapter 20a. Commit fully and act like the standard every day. Commitment defines excellence and sets the foundation for a life of influence, achievement, and self-respect. When you decide to act like the standard every day, you step into a level of discipline and integrity that naturally commands attention and admiration. Living as the standard is not about seeking recognition or comparison, it is about embodying the values, habits, and consistency that you believe should define the best version of yourself. Every choice, every action, and every response becomes a reflection of the standards you uphold, and over time, this deliberate consistency transforms character into authority. Begin by defining clearly what your standard is. Identify the qualities, behaviors, and outcomes that represent your ideal performance, values, and integrity. Write them down, internalize them, and use them as a benchmark for every decision and action. Without clarity about what the standard looks like, commitment lacks direction and becomes vulnerable to distraction, compromise, or wavering motivation. Fully commit to living by these standards without exception. Commitment means that there is no selective application of principles or temporary adherence. Acting inconsistently undermines credibility and weakens internal confidence. When standards guide all decisions, your actions are deliberate, intentional, and aligned with the person you aspire to be. Treat every day as an opportunity to embody excellence. Consistency in behavior reinforces both internal discipline and external perception. Simple, everyday actions, when executed at the level of the standard, accumulate into remarkable growth and reputation. What seems ordinary in isolation compounds into extraordinary influence over time. Focus on presence and intention in each action. Acting like the standard requires awareness and deliberate effort. Avoid moving through tasks mechanically or without focus. Presence ensures that every interaction, responsibility, and decision is performed to the level of excellence you have defined. This conscious practice transforms competence into a habit that becomes natural and reliable. Eliminate compromise in small matters. The standard is reinforced in daily decisions that may seem minor but cumulatively define character. Upholding quality, punctuality, integrity, and attention to detail consistently signals reliability, competence, and authority. Small lapses erode credibility faster than major failures. Attention to detail demonstrates commitment. Develop habits that sustain the standard. Daily routines, preparation, reflection, and skill building create the infrastructure that makes living at a high level sustainable. Habits transform effort into automatic execution, reducing reliance on motivation and ensuring consistent performance. Your routines are the backbone of your ability to act like the standard daily. Hold yourself accountable relentlessly. Internal accountability ensures that standards are maintained regardless of external observation or approval. Regularly assess your actions, identify deviations, and correct them immediately. Self-discipline builds trust in your own abilities and strengthens resilience in the face of challenges. Prioritize high-value actions that reflect the standard. Focus energy on activities, decisions, and behaviors that produce meaningful impact and align with long-term goals. Avoid distraction, unnecessary compromise, or low-priority tasks that dilute effort. Excellence is not about doing everything, but about doing what matters at the highest level of quality and consistency. Model the standard for others without diminishing your own presence. By consistently acting with competence, integrity, and purpose, you influence those around you through demonstration rather than instruction. Leadership and respect grow naturally when your behavior embodies the expectations you hold for yourself. Others follow example more than they follow words. Maintain resilience under pressure. Acting like the standard means upholding excellence even when conditions are difficult, uncertain, or uncomfortable. True commitment is tested in adversity. Persistence, composure, and focus in these moments reinforce credibility, strengthen character, and demonstrate that your standards are unwavering. Adapt without lowering the standard. Flexibility and problem-solving are necessary in complex situations, but adjustments must preserve core quality, integrity, and values. Acting intelligently within constraints reinforces mastery and ensures that standards are maintained rather than abandoned. Compromise should never mean accepting mediocrity. Reflect daily on alignment between actions and standards. End-of-day assessment ensures that successes are recognized, gaps are identified, and improvements are planned. Reflection strengthens awareness, reinforces habits, and maintains momentum in consistently acting at a high level. Continuous evaluation prevents drift from the standard. Celebrate integrity and consistency privately. Internal recognition reinforces motivation and confirms commitment without reliance on external validation. Knowing that you have honored your standards strengthens confidence and encourages sustained excellence. Self-respect is cultivated through disciplined acknowledgement of your own effort. Reject comparison as a measure of your standard. Your commitment is about your performance and integrity, not others' achievements. Measuring against external benchmarks creates distraction, envy, and inconsistency. Internal standards are self-reinforcing and independent of the behavior of others. Focus entirely on your own alignment with the standard. Invest in skill and knowledge development. Acting like the standard requires capability, preparation, and continuous growth. Pursue mastery in areas relevant to your goals, responsibilities, and values. Excellence is sustainable only when backed by competence, ensuring that actions consistently reflect the highest level of ability. Protect your energy and focus. Avoid distractions, toxic influences, and unnecessary commitments that weaken consistency. Guarding focus allows for deliberate action and reinforces the integrity of the standard. High standards are maintained through careful management of attention, priorities, and effort. Respond with integrity in all interactions. Acting like the standard is as much about how you treat others as it is about personal achievement. Respectful, fair, and ethical behavior reinforces authority, builds trust, and reflects a deep commitment to your values. Influence is earned through both capability and character. Take immediate action when required. Avoid hesitation that allows doubt or external factors to compromise execution. Swift, confident action signals competence, reinforces standards, and demonstrates reliability. Delay erodes credibility, while decisive behavior strengthens trust in your abilities and judgment. Commit to continuous improvement. Standards are not static, they evolve with learning, reflection, and experience. Seek refinement in habits, skills, and decision-making to ensure that your standard remains relevant, effective, and exemplary. Lifelong growth is an integral part of living consistently at a high level. Ultimately, committing fully and acting like the standard every day transforms identity into influence. Every choice, effort, and interaction becomes a demonstration of discipline, integrity, and capability. Excellence is not occasional but habitual, and when embodied consistently, it defines perception, builds trust, and inspires both personal and professional growth. Living as the standard creates a life where competence, reliability, and self-respect are visible in every action and felt in every outcome.